What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to Stat Diggers. We have a UFC Vegas 49 deep dive. We have Bobby Green going against Islam Makachev. Should be an interesting card today. I'm here as always with the man behind the stats, Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, you looking forward to this card?
Yeah, I mean, not as much as I'm looking forward to next week's card, but like I say, man, the good cards are the ones where we make money, and there's going to be some opportunities to do exactly that on this card, and I'm fired up to talk about all 12 of these fights. We're going to go dumpster diving, and we're also going to do something else. We're also going to break down a couple of really top-notch, high-level fights on this card, so you're going to get a little bit of everything from Brady and I today. As always, Stat Digger is going to take you on a roller coaster ride through all the stats, through all the matchups. Can't wait to break it down with you, brother.
If you guys like high-level matchups, you are going to love Jinyoung Fry going against Hannah Goldie. It does not get much higher level than that. Quick recap of last night, then we'll get right into this card. I did snap a 6-event losing streak last night. I'll go over the losses first. So
you snapped a 6-event winning streak, not a 6-event losing streak.
Yes, there you go. I lost and I snapped a 6-event winning streak. There you go. Thank you, Uncle Weezy. But I guess what hurt me the most was kind of buying into the Parker Porter hype. I mean, early in the week, I heard a lot of people saying this guy was going to be featured champion. This guy was going to win in the rematch against John Jones. This guy was the heavyweight GOAT. I kind of, bought into the hype a little bit. I thought, hey, if this guy's the GOAT, if this guy can be champ, why can't he beat Alain Badeau, who I did say was the worst heavyweight on the roster. I do got to apologize to him because he did not look like the worst heavyweight on the roster. But I did have one unit on Parker Porter to win inside the distance, plus 110. And I had one unit on the fight doesn't go to decision in that fight at minus 200. And yeah, beat a lot of Lymon on both of those. But, Porter's not able to finish Badeau, and it really wasn't even close. So again, I think I overrated Porter, quite a bit. And I was very confident in that spot. So I'm lucky to only go away with the 2-unit loss on that fight. I did have Buckley Alassane under 2.5 rounds, minus 200. 2 units on that. I liked it. I liked under 2.5 at minus 200, considering the fight doesn't go as minus 300, but it really wasn't even close to finishing as well. And it was actually Abdulrazak Alassane who ended up winning the 3rd round, which was very weird. Another loss was Jesse Strader, Chad Hellinger under 2.5 rounds, minus 130. 1.3 units. The fight doesn't go closed at like minus 230. So didn't hit that as well. Was about a minute away from hitting that one. And then that was about it. Other than that, it was like a couple sprinkles. I had Alassane round 1, but those were the main losses there. I had Jonathan Pierce, Christian Rodriguez fight doesn't go to decision as well. Minus 165, 2 units. All right, the wins. My only straight bet of the night, Kyle Dawkins, minus 200. He looked minus 1,000 or more against Jamie Pickett, 2 units on that. That was good. Jim Miller, Nicholas Mata fight doesn't go to decision, minus 110, 1.1 units. That was good. Johnny Walker, Jamal Hill fight does not start round 4, minus 190, 2 units. That was good. And then I did really good on my sprinkles here. I had the fight ends in KO for Benitez Onama, minus 115, half a unit. Probably should have went more on that or even played the fight doesn't go. And then also had Chaz Skelly wins inside the distance, plus 150, half a unit on that. So, yeah, if Porter finished inside the distance, it's a winning night for me, but it is a 3.5 unit loss for me. Wheezy, how'd you do last night?
So I snapped a 6-event winning streak as well, finished down 0.75 units. I think I had 9 bets on the night, and I think I was 2-6 and a no contest, a wash, because it was a decision-only prop on the Jamal Hill fight. But the ones that I cashed were I had Dawkins by submission or decision for minus 165, 1.65 units, 1 a unit there. And then I had 1.1 units on the Miller Mata fight doesn't go to decision. That cashed for a unit, so that put me up 2. But then I lost 2.75 units sprinkling a bunch of stuff. I had a half unit total on the rounds 2 and 3 props for Jonathan Pierce that didn't cash. I had Porter inside the distance. I had Porter round 3, and man, when he got his fat ass into mount there on Alan Badeau there with like about a minute and a half left, if he would have finished that fight in the 3rd round, instead of being down 0.75 units, I think I would have been up like 5 units or something like that. So I was praying that he was going to get that ground and pound knockout or a submission or something. Even Eric Betts Fights said he wanted that fight to finish by key lock, and he was working for the key lock, man. I was like, man, if Eric calls this dude, it will be some king shit. But Porter couldn't get the job done inside the distance. Pierce couldn't get the job done inside the distance, and that turned what would have been a good solid winning night for me into a less than 1 unit loss. But you know what, man? We always got to look forward. Always looking forward. We got 5 more weeks, I believe, here of straight UFC events before we get a week off here on April 2nd. So we got a lot of work to do, man. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Yeah, it's a shame Parker Porter could not finish that fight. I was actually really confident in that spot. But yeah, we got to move on to this card. We got to look into Jinyu Fry, Hannah Goldie. That should be a banger. And a lot of these fights should be solid, actually. So I do want to shout out the chat. First, let's shout out F. Carrillo with the $10 dono. Appreciate you, Carrillo. Always a supporter week in and week out. And then he hits us with another dono. $5 saying, can't say it enough. Thank you. And thank you, Carrillo, for the dono. Appreciate you hanging out. And then how about a third one? F. Carrillo, the man, grateful. Appreciate you. I am grateful. Weezy's grateful for you hanging out.
Pub Sports is grateful. Carrillo's the man.
He is the man week in and week out. But let's shout out the rest of the chat here. And looks, we got another one. Big Steve. Yes. Over-unders are the enemy of profit. Never forget. Last night, yeah, but typically I am very good at them, so I'm not going to stop doing them. But if you don't like them, then don't do them. All right. Appreciate the dono. So we'll start with Mark. First one in the chat. He cashed 2 cards. There you go, Mark. We got Sean in the chat as well. We got the general taking notes as always. Roy, Lou Bet, just shout out to Lou. Hype. We have DXJC, Victor. And by the way, we have like a 95 already. We haven't got to the first fight. So appreciate you guys hanging out. Mushroom, as always, as well. Andy MG. We got, who else we got here? More Lou in the chat. Spencer, Bon, Quee, Blood Money. Shout out to him as well. We got Josh Locks in the chat, Mystic Lista. We have Gerald Lynch, MMA Asphalt, Roy, Carrillo, of course, and Z. Appreciate y'all hanging out. Leave a like, subscribe. We go live every Sunday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. But I say we break down this card. And I appreciate you, Truth. Thumbs up. I agree. Let's hit that thumbs up. All right. We will start the very first fight of the night. We have Victor Alton Murano going against Carlos Hernandez. We have Alton Murano, 31 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Hernandez, 28 years old, 5'8" with a 67-inch reach. Alton Murano is going to be 3 years older, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage as well. We'll take a look at the last few fights. Both these guys are coming off the Contender Series, and they're going to be making their debut here. Victor Alton Murano is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and then Hernandez is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So, Weezy, what do you think of this very first fight of the night here?
Yeah, this was one I didn't know who the hell either of these guys were, so I watched all the tape on them starting last night after the UFC event and then finishing up today. It's going to be Alton Murano, who's a little bit older, has a little bit of a size advantage here and a little bit of an experience advantage, having about 50 more minutes in the cage. They've both had one Contender Series fight that went to decision. They both won those fights. Alton Murano, a 50% finish rate. Hernandez, 57% finish rate. In the 2 combined losses, there has been one that's been finished inside the distance. It was Alton Murano being subbed. That was to Jared Brooks, former UFC fighter, the Monkey God. He destroyed Alton Murano in that fight. That fight lasted for about 9.5 minutes, and Brooks was on top for about 9 minutes and 20 seconds of that. So it was a one-sided performance there. When we look at the striking stats that we have on the screen here, Brady, they're each from one fight, a Contender Series fight, but we both see that these guys are landing almost 2 more significant strikes per minute than they're absorbing. It's Alton Murano who's a little more accurate. It's Alton Murano who's throwing a little more volume on the feet. The defensive numbers are almost identical. And then when we look at the grappling stats, what I think this is going to be the important part of the fight here, Brady. When I watch the tape on both of these guys, right? Alton Murano, when you watch the tape on him, this guy cannot stop a takedown. And when he gets to, you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of Carlos Condit in that he'll get taken down very easily, but then when he's on his back, he'll be constantly working, right? Not necessarily, but for submissions, but landing little strikes. But because he's so active doing that, he doesn't really get up, and he gives up a ton of minutes on his back. And he is absolutely somebody that you can win minutes off of on the ground at this level. See, now let's look at this, right? Alton Murano in his Contender Series fight, he's 4 of 8 on takedowns. So he attempts 8 takedowns, and his opponent attempts 16, right? His opponent gets 5 of 16. He gets 4 of 8. But look at this. He almost gets out-controlled at a 3-to-1 ratio, despite only getting one less takedown. So when Elton Murano gets taken down, it takes him a long time to get back up. When he was taking down his opponent, Candelario was getting right back up. Carlos Hernandez, on the other hand, in his fight against Perez, had no success taking him down. But check this out. He tries 8 takedowns. Perez tries 16. Perez gets out-controlled at a 2.5-to-1 ratio by Hernandez. So Hernandez is somebody that, even though he wasn't as efficient in the wrestling as Perez was, still was very efficient in being able to win minutes up against the cage and on the ground, therefore getting the decision win, the split decision win here. It's because he won the entire second round, and he got a takedown and managed to get Perez's back and then hold him there for a good 3.5 minutes. So when I look at this fight, I think it's going to be close on the feet, but Elton Murano is going to be a little bit more schooled, a little more technical. He's got a karate background, K1 as well, I believe. Or no, that's somebody else. I'm sorry. But he does have kind of like a Taekwondo karate background, Elton Murano does. So I think he'll be a little bit busier, a little more active on the feet. But I think Hernandez, even though he was 0 for 8 on his takedowns against Perez has much better takedown defense, and so did one of his other fights on the regional scene. I believe it was the Trevor Wells fight. Wells showed some really good takedown defense as well. But I don't think he's going to have that problem with Elton Murano. I see Carlos Hernandez being able to win minutes on the ground here, and I'm leaning towards him. The home slice for me, the Chicago guy from Valley Flow Striking, Carlos Hernandez, to win this fight by decision. What are you thinking here, man?
Yeah, I'm going the same way, Carlos Hernandez, for a lot of the same reasons. I think the striking's going to be very close. I don't like the striking defense of Alton Murano. On the Contender Series, he had his hands very, very low. He blocked punches at like 48% in that fight. And like you mentioned, his takedown defense is a serious concern. I think both guys have really bad takedown defense. I saw Hernandez taking down a ton as well, but with Hernandez, he has good scrambling ability. He can work his way back up, whereas, like you said, Alton Murano is kind of content to lay on his back, kind of has trouble getting up. Another thing I don't like about Hernandez is his wrestling is not great, 0 for 8 on the Contender Series, and I was able to watch 3 or 4 fights of him, and I only saw him get 1 takedown, but when he does get on top, his ground game actually looks really good, and he did get on top in the Contender Series fight. He got hurt in that fight, and then he kind of like pushed his opponent over, and then once he got on top, it was, his world there. So I think on the feet, like I said, it's going to be very close, but if Hernandez is able to get down Alton Murano, who kind of just gives up the takedown, kind of just falls over, so I kind of think Hernandez can get him down. I think Hernandez can win minutes on the mat. I think on the feet it's going to be close. I slightly do edge the Hernandez side right there with you. As far as the odds go, I kind of agree here. So Hernandez opens up plus 130 actually, and he's now minus 133. Alton Murano opened up minus 150, and he's now plus 113. I think that feels about right. Hernandez slight favorite. I don't really see either guy. I don't think either guy should be a big favorite here. How about you, Weezy?
Yeah, I agree, man. It's going to be a very close fight. These guys are very, very close in terms of their skill sets and how they put everything together inside the cage. So I think that line's exactly where it should be from what I've seen on tape for both of these guys. I'm not running the window to bet either of these guys because I think this is a very accurate line. I think it's going to be a close fight. And I think that these guys have very similar skill sets in a lot of different places. The one thing that stuck out was Elton Murano's really bad takedown defense. And I think that that's why I'm picking Hernandez here. But like I said, man, not running to the window here. This is one that I think I'm going to leave alone.
Yeah, it's so bad that I think that although Carlos Hernandez has shown really bad offensive wrestling, I think he could get a takedown here and ultimately win minutes. So no interest in the line for me as of now. BetMGM actually has Hernandez at minus 105. If I use BetMGM, that'd be interesting. But the fight goes to decision minus 215, and the fight doesn't go to decision plus 165. Both these guys not really finishers. Both these guys really tough. I think that line's about right as well. Do you think it goes to decision or finishes?
Oh, I think it definitely goes to decision. I could see either one of these guys potentially getting a submission because they're both pretty slick on the ground. But yeah, dude, I see, minus 215 sounds about right. It's about a 68% implied probability, 69. So yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Sounds good to me. So first fight of the night, we were both leaning on the Hernandez side there. Let's move on to this fight. This fight's hilarious, man. We have Ramiz Brahimaj going against Michael Gilmore. It was supposed to be Johnny Parsons against Michael Gilmore. Johnny Parsons was like minus 300, and me and Weezy were joking about it earlier. There was probably one of the lowest level matchups ever in UFC history if Johnny Parsons was to fight Michael Gilmore here. But luckily, he's out, and Brahimaj is stepping in on short notice, which really scares me, actually. We'll talk about why. But Brahimaj, he's 29 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach. Michael Gilmore, 34 years old, 5'11", with a 74-inch reach. So I believe this fight, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's at 170, and Michael Gilmore did make his debut at 185 against Petrosky. So Michael Gilmore's kind of going to be at his normal weight class here. And again, Brahimaj is coming in on short notice, which does scare me, because this is a guy that really does struggle with the cardio. This is a guy that, when it leaves the first round, he loses. He's 0-4 in fights that leave the first round. He's kind of like an Abdul Razak Al-Hassan. He's only won in one method, and that one method is submission in the first round. So if you're going to bet Ramiz Brahimaj, you probably bet him by submission in first round. He will be 5 years younger, and he will have a 2-inch reach disadvantage and a 1-inch height disadvantage. So short notice scares me, and on top of that, he's going to be the smaller fighter, but he will be 5 years younger. We'll take a look at their last few fights. Ramiz Brahimaj, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Max Griffin. One of the worst game plans I've ever seen. He went in there. He didn't attempt a single takedown. Extremely questionable. I don't know why. And that was the fight where he did get his ear ripped off in that third round. Then he comes back. He fights smart. He gets the fight down to the mat and submits Sasha Plotnikov right away, as he should have done in the Max Griffin fight. And then he goes and he loses to Court McGee in a pretty one-sided fight. I kind of expected Brahimaj to have success, at least in the first round, but it was just Court McGee and Court McGee all day. And then Michael Gilmore was on the Ultimate Fighter. He was a late replacement. He did have one fight on the show, and he got submitted in the first round by, I believe it was Gilbert Urbina. And he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Petrosky, and he was able to survive to the third round. And I will say, if he survives to the third round in this fight, honestly, he's probably live. So this one definitely scares me, especially when we're going to talk about the money line. No way am I laying the money line on Brahimaj, who has A, cardio issues, B, coming in on short notice, and C, has shown very questionable fight IQ. But I absolutely expect Ramiz Brahimaj to come in here, take down Michael Gilmore. Gilmore's been finished in all of his losses, 3 by submission, subbed on the Ultimate Fighter. Brahimaj's wrestling is legit. His grappling is legit. Take this guy down and submit him. But my fear is, if Gilmore can survive a round, I think he's very live. So this one scares me, Weezy, but I think Brahimaj more than likely shaves ass in the first round. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I agree with you on terms of him shaving ass, and I am not scared by anything that Michael Gilmore is bringing to the table here, man. Brahimaj, when he has that grappling advantage, it really does look like he will just go out there, take you down, and God, man, is he terrifying when he gets on top of dudes. I mean, he's finishing people almost immediately. Very, very aggressive grappler. And prior to the Petrosky fight for Gilmore, all 3 of his losses were inside the distance and by submission. So, Brahimaj is the perfect candidate to go in there, shoot a takedown in the first 5 seconds, get this guy to the ground and just do work and probably get him out of there soon afterwards. That's what Brahimaj is good at. That's what Michael Gilmore is good at. When he loses, he's good at going out there, getting dominated on the ground, getting his ass shaved, and then tapping to that rear naked choke. So, this sets up to be a pretty easy win. You remember when we did the Huggy Bear and John Volante fight, Fat John and Huggy Bear?
Yeah.
Dude, if this had been Gilmore Parsons, this fight would have been even fucking worse than because it even wouldn't have been as funny. See, because Huggy Bear and Volante, that's funny. Those dudes, I mean, the way that he got kicked by the spinning heel kick by a fat guy, you can't really beat that. That's awesome entertainment, but this would have been even worse. Lou Betya's in the room, saying, how dare we besmirch the name of Johnny Parsons. He did it himself by cutting his hair into that mullet, okay? And he lost his Contender Series fight. I hate to be the one to tell anybody that. I know you bet on him, and you cashed that bet, but he lost that fight. And then they gave him a contract after losing a fight, basically getting his ass shaved. So I don't think he deserved to be here. I mean, Gilmore did a favor by stepping in on super short notice and staying in Vegas as an alternate with no guarantee that he would even get a spot. So, I mean, he's kind of owed this by Dana White. And they clearly tried to do him a favor by giving him the worst fighter on the roster, which would have been Johnny Parsons, if it weren't for Gilmore. You know, and like that would have been the two worst, I think, on the entire roster. So in that case, it's really hard for me to, I mean, I think you would really have to overthink the shit out of this fight in order to find a path to victory for Michael Gilmore. Let's not overthink it. Let's just talk Ramiz Brahimaj first round sub.
His path to victory is surviving the first round, which I think is going to be pretty tough. I will say,
I don't think he survives the first 90 seconds.
He shouldn't. But what if Brahimaj comes in here with a Max Griffin game plan? You just don't know with these fighters.
No, you don't. And that's the thing, man. It's the no takedown attempts against Max Griffin that's just absolutely terrifying. But Max Griffin can wrestle a little bit. Max Griffin, very experienced. You know, it didn't even seem to be in the game plan. It's got to be in the game plan for Michael Gilmore. The guy was submitted in all of his losses, and Petrosky even did a lot of work on top of him, really made him look bad on the ground in that fight too. He had several opportunities to finish the fight on the ground. So, yeah, I'm not overthinking this. It's just Brahimaj first round sub for me.
I agree. I will say I think Gilmore could be the worst fighter in the division currently. I can't think of a worse. So, yeah, Brahimaj should start him in the first round if he comes in and goes for the takedowns early, and I expect him to. He opens up minus 400, which I think is about right, honestly, and he's now minus 340. I'm not going to touch the money line. I'm not going to parlay him, but I will be looking at some props. Again, he's won by one method his entire career, and that is submission, and it's been in the first round. Why not play him first round submission? And I bet FanDuel will give you like a plus 400 for no reason.
Yeah, and you might as well just do it, and that way you don't have to invest as much. That way you don't have to break your TV if the guy doesn't shoot any takedowns, and it's a possibility. It's happened before. So
I broke my TV before during a Brahimaj.
I know you have, man. We've been there. We both had some money on Brahimaj in that Griffin fight, and that was just unforgivable.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. You know, I mean, the fight doesn't go to decision is minus 210, which it's a lot better than the Brahimaj money line. But I kind of think if Gilmore wins, it's going to be by decision. Brahimaj is very, very tough. But yeah, I honestly rather play that fight doesn't go minus 210 rather than the money line. But I'm going to be looking at Brahimaj inside the distance. I'm going to be looking at Brahimaj round one. And I'm going to be looking at Brahimaj round one sub. I'm not touching the money line. Any thoughts on how you're going to be approaching this fight?
Yeah, it's really just I think that the under is all on Brahimaj. So yeah. I think, you know, instead of playing time props, if you're thinking over, just bet Gilmore by decision. If you're thinking under, just bet Brahimaj by first round sub. What I just want to leave everybody with is if you think that Court McGee and Michael Gilmore are even in the same galaxy on the ground, we talked about this fight. We both had bets on Court McGee. Court McGee is an amazing grappler. This guy has fought everybody that the UFC has thrown at him. He's only been finished once, and he's grappled with the best in the welterweight division. So there's no shame in Brahimaj not being able to go out there and dominate Court McGee on the ground. Michael Gilmore is not Court McGee, my friends.
Yeah, and Court McGee's having a resurgence. Like, Court McGee's good now. He's actually pretty good, and he's like 30.
He's looking damn good. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, veteran lesson there. Just like Jim Miller. These veterans, they're coming through. They're coming through. But we will move on. I think this fight's hilarious. I can't wait to see Brahimaj sub him in round one. Should be a very fun time. Hopefully cash that round one sub as well. All right, next we have Alejandro Perez going against Jonathan Martinez. This should be a very exciting one. We have Perez, who is 32 years old, 5'6" with a 67-inch reach. Martinez, 27 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. So Martinez is going to be 5 years younger. Martinez is going to have a 2-inch height advantage and also a 3-inch reach advantage. Perez, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a knockout win against Matthew Lopez, a decision win against Eddie Wineland, a decision loss to Cody Stamen, a knockout loss against Song Yadong, and then he took like a 2-year layoff, 2.5-year layoff, a long layoff, and it comes back and then it beats Johnny Eduardo. What was that dude like? 43? Like he was old, right?
Stole his social security check after the fight too, man. I mean, come on, it was ice cold. But yeah, an old man in Eduardo.
He was like
43 or 44 going into that fight.
So that was good. That was a good finish. I know we were on violence in that spot, but Martinez 3-2 in his last 5 fights, knockout loss to Andre Ewell, a decision win against Frankie Saenz, decision win against Thomas Almeida, knockout loss to Davey Grant, and then that decision win against Lawless Philly. I think it's a pretty simple fight to break down. Perez actually has a pretty solid ground game, and he did show that a little bit in his last fight against Eduardo. It's just the problem with Perez in 12 fights, he's only landed 5 takedowns. So I don't really expect him to go for many takedowns here. And if he does, Jonathan Martinez does have a very good takedown defense at 72%. I do expect to stay standing. I like the younger Jonathan Martinez. I think he's the better striker. I think he's going to have a reach advantage as well. I think Martinez should win this on the feet, probably by decision. Perez is a pretty tough guy. So leaning Martinez. I've not seen the line yet, but I think Martinez gets this done by decision. How about you, Weezy?
Yeah, Martinez is younger, taller, and a southpaw. It's going to be Hernandez who has the experience advantage as a pro and in the UFC. They're both really good finishers, 64% for Martinez, 68% for Perez. And when you combine the losses, we've got 6 out of the 12 losses have finished inside the distance, so a 50% rate. Perez lands more strikes than he absorbs, as does Martinez, and almost at the same difference. The volume that they throw, very much the same. Perez, not accurate, but great defensively in terms of, 35% striking accuracy is really bad, but 63% striking defense is excellent. However, it is kind of troubling that he's been knocked down 5 times in 12 fights, has Alejandro Perez, getting knocked down on over 1.3% of the significant strikes that he absorbs, and he's absorbing 0.61 knockdowns per 15 minutes. And Martinez has been knocked down 3 times in 8 fights for 0.42 knockdowns allowed per 15 minutes. So both of these guys have been a little bit chinny, but in terms of when we're looking for power on the offensive end, it's Martinez that's showing the power, landing 5 knockdowns in 8 fights, while Alejandro Perez has 0 knockdowns in 12 UFC fights. So definitely, I think that there's a path here for Martinez to land a big shot and knock down or knock out Alejandro Perez, as we've seen both of those things happen at a very high frequency in their fights. But when we look at the grappling, what I see here, Brady, is a couple of guys who are more comfortable on the feet than they are on the ground. 84% of Alejandro Perez's 12-fight career in the UFC has been taking place at striking range. And for Jonathan Martinez, it's about 75%. What's really good about Martinez, but I like what I see here, Brady, Martinez has 3 takedowns in 8 attempts, and Martinez's opponents have 7 takedowns in 25 attempts. So they've taken him down 4 more times, and they've attempted 17 more takedowns than Martinez has, yet Martinez is out-controlling his opponents at a 1.5 to 1 ratio. So people that have tried to wrestle Martinez have not been successful with it. Alejandro Perez is spending even more time on the feet, shows about the same amount of takedown defense, and is really only getting his takedowns at a 24% clip. So that leads me to believe that this fight is going to take place on the feet. So then let's look at the strength of schedule. Neither one of these guys is fighting great competition, and that kind of surprises me. They're both averaging fighting guys with losing records, but it's Perez that's fighting the slightly better competition, better win-loss ratio, a little more experienced. The wins are similar, and the losses are a little bit better for Perez. I'd give Perez a little bit of a strength of schedule advantage, a little bit of an experience advantage, and then Martinez is younger, longer, and I think he's got the power advantage and the striking advantage here. And I don't see Perez or Martinez really having a ton of success on the ground against each other here. So when I look through all the numbers to handicap the fight, I'm leaning Jonathan Martinez here. I'd probably price him around minus 150-ish. What are you thinking?
Yep, I think that's about right as well. Looks like Martinez actually opened up minus 210. He's minus 220. I'm not going to be betting that, but I do think he does win. The fight goes to decision minus 170. The fight does go to decision plus 130. I'm going to pick Martinez to win. I'll pick him to win by decision. Perez has been knocked out once in the UFC. I'm not sure on the total knockouts, but he has been dropped a lot in the UFC. I noticed. I think Cirkunov dropped him like 3 times, but I'll take Martinez here, but I don't see myself betting it. Or really any props that stick out. Anything stick out to you?
Maybe Martinez by knockout, simply because he's landed 5 knockdowns in 8 fights, and Perez has been knocked down 5 times in 12 fights. So that, not only is Perez chinny, but Martinez has shown a ton of power. So I think that there's a potential that Martinez gets a knockout here. Didn't really like how Perez. See, I had Perez down as my ass shaving of the week when he fought Eduardo, right? Because I'm like, oh man, Eduardo hadn't fought in the UFC in like 3 years. And, he was 43, 44 going into that fight. Perez walking into that, fight with a 7-3 UFC record. I thought he would dominate him. But in the first round, Eduardo's got good stand-up, and he really kind of put it on Perez. But then, I was saying the reason I had that down as my ass shaving is that, Eduardo fights for 5 minutes, and then if he doesn't get you out of there, he will just let you take him down, and then he'll tap to the first submission attempt. And that's exactly what happened. Perez took him down in the second round, advanced position a couple of times, and then finished him. So, I really do believe that Martinez will be the better striker here. -200 is a little wide for me, so I'd probably try to get the price down by looking at that knockout prop.
Yep, knockout prop probably has some good odds on that. I did take a shot on Martinez by knockout in his last fight against Lazishvili, coming in on short notice. I think Lazishvili's cardio held up a little better than I thought, but might be a good time to take a look at the knockout prop here. So we'll keep moving on to the people's main event. We have Jinyu Fry going against Hannah Goldie. We have Fry, who is 36 years old, 5'3" with a 65-inch reach. Hannah Goldie, 29 years old, 5'4" with a 61-inch reach. So Goldie going to be 7 years younger, going to have a 1-inch height advantage, but a 4-inch reach disadvantage. We'll take a look at their last couple fights. Jinyu Fry, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A submission loss to Kay Hansen in her debut in the UFC, a loss to Luma Lukbumi by decision, a loss or a win against Gloria De Paula by decision, and then a win against Ashley Yoder by decision. As far as Hannah Goldie, she's 3-2 in her last 5 fights as well. A loss to Miranda Granger by decision, a loss to Deanna Balbita by decision, and then a win against Emily Whitmire by submission. And this has 1-800-GAMBLER written all over it, Weezy. And I messaged you today. I said, I think you might need to get the orderlies ready because, Hannah Goldie's, she's kind of sticking out. And you brought me back down a little bit. She's not good, but there are some things I like for Goldie in this fight. The first one is going to be volume. She throws over 12 significant strike attempts per minute, where you see Fry only throwing 6. Goldie's almost, throwing more volume than Fry, like 3 times the volume. And, I guess Fry could potentially take down Goldie. I think that's a path to victory here, but this is a fight I'm probably going to stay away from. I'll tell you right now, I'm not betting Jinyu Fry at -200. She's 36 years old. She's getting up there in age for the division, but I'm leaning Goldie here just based off of doing more. She throws a ton more volume. Like Jinyu Fry just got outlanded by a grappler and Ashley Yoder. Give me Goldie here with the volume, but I don't know if I'm going to bet it.
Yeah, I'm not betting this, man. But yeah, Fry's older, but she's longer. She's the southpaw. She's more experienced. Got twice as much cage time. Got a little more cage time at the UFC level as well. 27% finish rate for Jinyu Fry, 33% finish rate for Hannah Goldie. And Fry's been finishing 3 of 6 losses. Goldie's never been finished. So, something's telling me that the fight goes to decision here is probably going to be like -200 or even better. So yeah, that'll probably be very much juiced, especially with Jinyu really not being a finisher. And frankly, Hannah Goldie at this level, I mean, she finished Emily Whitmire, but that's that everybody has finished Emily Whitmire, everybody that's beaten her, that is. So like you said, man, the problem with Jinyu Fry is the volume. She only throws 6.46 and her opponents are throwing 8.55, and she's landing less than her opponent. She lands about 1.2 less significant strikes per minute than her opponents do. But what she's done really well is she's out-controlled her opponents at about a 2-to-1 ratio, has Jinyu Fry, and she's shown the ability to be able to win minutes on the feet against grapplers and win minutes on the ground against strikers. So she's been smart. Look, I bet against Jinyu Fry when she fought Kay Hansen, and that made me very nervous. Jinyu Fry clearly won the first round against Kay, stopped the takedown attempts. She lost the second round, and then Kay got that armbar in the third round that was pretty spectacular. Then she comes back and she just, she lost the second round to Gloria DePaula because she chose to box her. But as soon as she realized that she needed to wrestle, which was in the first round and the third round, she got it done easily. Same thing with Yoder. She was getting boxed up on the feet, so she won minutes on the ground. That veteran savvy is something that I like to see when I know a fight is going to decision. I need somebody to win minutes. And I think, like you said, Goldie can win minutes on the feet. Jinyu Fry can win minutes on the ground. I like the fact that Jinyu Fry's got a 4-inch reach advantage here, though, because that leads me to believe that she might be the better minute winner here, even on the feet, if she can manage distance well against Hannah. So, and then you look at, my God, the ratio, 0.55 for Jinyu Fry, 0.29 for Hannah Goldie. Dear God, I mean, neither of these ladies have fought. Ashley Yoder, Gloria DePaula, Loma Lukbunmi, Kay Hansen, and Ashley Cummins for Jinyu Fry, and then Hannah Goldie, Quitmeyer, Belbita, Miranda Granger, Callie Roberts, and Shannon Gugari. So it's low level. Jinyu Fry more experienced, a little bit better of a minute winner in my opinion, and uses her fight IQ to choose where she can best win minutes. This fight is going to decision. My God, I guess I'm picking Jinyu Fry here, but yeah, I'm going to do the same thing for you that you're going to do for me, Brady, which is we're just going to keep each other in check here, threaten to call the orderlies on each other if we start to think that we need to bet this fight. Vegas has to put a line on this fight. It doesn't mean that we have to bet it. And the best example of that was last week, Brady. We get online for best bet 1 hour before the fight start, and these pricks haven't even put out props on the Belbita DePaula fight. They didn't even care about that fight. It wound up being a great fight. It was a really exciting fight. They both went at it. Great fight. But even Vegas was like, you know what? It's just really not important that we get props out on this fight. And I have a feeling it'll be the same thing with a fight like this. I'm not touching it, man, but I am going to pick Jinyu Fry to win that decision.
Yeah, I'll take Goldie, but I'm not like overly confident. I mean, I hate Jinyu Fry, to be honest. Like, she comes in, she gets outlanded by Kay Hansen 31-26. She lands 26 significant strikes in the third round and went halfway. And against Loma Lukbunmi in a fight that literally played out on the feet for the majority of the time, she landed 26 significant strikes in 15 minutes. Against Gloria DePaula in a win, she lands 24 significant strikes in literally 15 minutes. And then against Ashley Yoder, who's a grappler and a terrible striker, she actually gets outlanded by Ashley Yoder. So I just think, Hannah Goldie, she's horrible, but at the very least, she's going to throw volume in a lot of it. So I'll take Goldie, but I'm not betting this fight, and we can definitely move on. Felt disgusting talking about that. Wait, I didn't even bring up the odds. Let's talk about the odds, which are even more disgusting. Jinyu Fry opened up -125, which makes sense. That makes sense. And she's now -180. Hannah Goldie opened up +105. She is now +155. The fight goes to decision is -270, and the fight doesn't go as +190. Early love on Fry, and I do expect it to keep getting wider. People really like
Fry. Won her last two fights, so there's some recency bias there. Yeah, I really don't know what's going to happen here, and it's not important that I know. We got McKinney Ziam coming up next, and that's going to be a banger.
Let's do it. We have Terence McKinney going against Faraz Ziam. We have Terence McKinney, 27 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach. Ziam, he's 24 years old, 6'1", with a 75-inch reach. McKinney is going to be 3 years older, going to be at a 3-inch height disadvantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Ziam definitely going to have the tail-to-tape advantage there. We look at the last several fights. McKinney makes his debut against Matt Frivola and knocks him out within a couple seconds. And he did also fight on the Contender Series against Sean Woodson. He did lose by knockout. And we'll talk more about that fight, as I do think it's kind of important to bring up. Ziam, he makes his debut against Don Madge, loses that fight by decision. Then he beats Jamie Malarkey by decision in a fight that a lot of people thought he lost, including me. And then also he won a very close decision against Luigi Vendramini. So this is a fight where I think a lot of people think that, McKinney's path to victory is coming out here and potentially starching Farazayam, whereas I think a sneaky path to victory for McKinney is coming in here and wrestling. McKinney wrestled in high school. I want to say he wrestled in college, but you go back and watch some of this guy's fights outside of his 7-second knockout against Matt Frivola. This guy's a wrestler and a very good one and a very good grappler as well. Back on the Contender Series against Sean Woodson, who we know that Sean Woodson has very good takedown defense and a very good get-up game. We saw that McKinney was able to actually take down Sean Woodson and control him for the entire first round in that fight. And then he kind of does the same thing in the second round, but he tires out. Woodson gets up and then lands a flying knee. But yeah, McKinney's wrestling's actually very, very good. His grappling's very good. Multiple submissions on his record as well. And we do see that that's something kind of Farazayam has struggled with. Luigi Vendramini took down Zion once. I will say his takedown defense looked really good in that fight, but Jamie Malarkey took him down 5 times, and then Don Madge took him down 3 times. And not only that, Don Madge controlled him for 9 minutes and 37 seconds of that fight. That is not good. So I think on the feet, Zion is obviously the better striker. He's much more technical. He's longer. But I think McKinney's the more dangerous fighter in this fight. And then on top of that, I feel like McKinney can mix in the takedowns. The problem with McKinney is this guy's never been to decision, win or loss, 100% finish rate in both wins and losses. That's kind of a concern. And we have seen him out of the first round. He does slow down. So it's kind of a tough fight to call because I think that McKinney's going to have a lot of success early. He could potentially finish Zion, whether it's a TKO on the mat or a submission or even knock him out on the feet. It's just if this fight gets extended in any type of way, I think it does favor Zion. I'm going to take McKinney to finish Zion in the first round, but I completely get the argument for Zion being able to survive that first round, taking it into deeper waters, McKinney slowing down like he always seems to do, and then winning later. But I'll go with McKinney for an early finish here. But I did have a bet on the fight doesn't go to decision the last time it was booked. I forget what line I got, but that might be something I look at again here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight? I think it's an absolute banger.
Oh, it's so good, dude. And Fares is only 24 and McKinney's only 27. So Fares, 3 inches taller, 2-inch reach advantage. It's McKinney who fights out of both stances, though. And you mentioned McKinney's was a great wrestler. Dude, I believe he might have been the number 1 ranked high school wrestler in the country at his weight class. He was elite in high school. Now, I don't know if he wrestled in college or not, but I do know that Terence McKinney, is somebody that brings something to the cage that all of Ziam's opponents have used, and that's wrestling. So the experience numbers are very similar in terms of fights and in terms of UFC fights, but look at the average fight time and look at the cage time. So Fares Ziam only has 1 more fight than McKinney as a pro, but he's got almost 100 more minutes of cage time. And that's because the average Ziam fights 8.23 minutes, and the average McKinney fight is less than 2.5 minutes. So, this guy gets in and out quickly. And in his 2 UFC fights, they've only lasted a total of 7 minutes. So Ziam has went to decision in all 3 of his fights. So we do know that the longer this fight goes, it's probably going to be Ziam that has the ability to win minutes late in the fight because McKinney doesn't go late in fights because he's so explosive, because he wrestles so much. It's the kind of game plan that will drain your gas tank quickly, and you either need to finish your opponent or they're going to probably get you out of there later on in the fight. Both of these guys are great finishers. McKinney finished all 11 of his wins inside the distance. 9 of 12 wins inside the distance for Fares Ziam. So that's 20 of 23 wins coming inside the distance, almost a 90% combined finish rate in these guys' wins. And then in the losses, 5 of 6 losses coming inside the distance. So this is definitely a fight we should be looking at. That fight doesn't go to decision. And, potentially a 3rd round prop for Fares Ziam. We look at the striking numbers, not going to tell us much here. Well, it will tell us something. It looks like Terence McKinney in his fights, there have been a total, there's been a knockdown landed on over 10% of the strikes that landed in their combined fights. So McKinney's fights, 2 fights, there have been 2 knockdowns, and there have only been 16 significant strikes landed. So McKinney's getting knocked down on 25% of the significant strikes that he absorbs, and he's knocking down his opponent on 8.3% of the significant strikes that he lands. So we're looking for power here on the McKinney side, either for or against. And Fares Ziam is a very, very technical kickboxer, has a kickboxing background, and he's excellent on the feet. He uses his length well, and he's got a ton of power too. So it's no secret that people are going to try to grapple Fares Ziam. He's had 3 UFC fights, and he's had 29 takedowns attempted against him in only 3 fights. So it's no secret to his opponents that they don't want to be on the feet with this guy. In addition to that, we have to even take it a step further to show how dangerous Fares Ziam is on the feet. The guys that tried to take him down were Madge and Malarkey. Don Madge is a South African kickboxing champion. This guy is a kickboxer. He's not a wrestler. And he turned into a wrestler when he fought Fares Ziam. Then Jamie Malarkey, this is a guy who's starched his last 2 opponents in the UFC, one of them being Devontae Smith with horrific power. This guy attempted something like 17 takedowns against Ziam. He wanted nothing of Fares Ziam on the feet. And then on the other hand, we got this guy McKinney, who's just explosive. He shoots double leg takedowns and puts your head through the canvas when he does that. He throws every strike with really bad intentions, and he is a 100% finisher in his 11 wins. So this is a kick-ass fight, man. This is going to be one of the best ones on the entire card by a mile. When we look at the UFC competition that these guys have faced, they're both facing guys with winning records, but a little less experienced. McKinney has faced the better competition and beaten the better competition at the UFC level, that is, having fought Frivola and Woodson, while Ziam's fighting Madge, Malarkey, and Vendramini. So McKinney is going to be attacking the takedowns early, I believe. He might strike with Ziam a little bit. Ziam has been subbed in 2 out of his 3 losses. So, that is definitely going to be a possibility for McKinney. And as explosive as McKinney is, Brady, he's actually got more submission victories than he does knockout victories. 6 victories by submission, 5 by knockout. So, yeah, Terence McKinney by submission early, by knockout early is a possibility. Fares Ziam by knockout late. One thing I don't think is a very good possibility is this fight seeing the scorecards, though. So, yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Which way are you leaning?
Yeah, I'm going to go McKinney early sub. I'm going to stick with my prediction from last time this fight was booked, which was a couple months ago. I'm not sure why it did fall off, by the way. Was it like a corner man tested positive for COVID?
Something like it was on the McKinney side, right?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. And I mean, I know he was really broken up about it because, these guys, they depend on those fights for their income. And when it gets, when it's like nobody gets injured, it's just like somebody tests positive for COVID and like they're not even sick. They just test, that sucks. So it sucks that we had to wait for this fight. But, I'm glad they remade it because it's a banger. This is great matchmaking.
It's definitely a banger. And we do see that Ziam is a favorite. Opened up a -110 pick him. He's now -129. McKinney opened up -110. He's now +109. The fight doesn't go to decision. Opened up -150. It's still -150. And then the fight goes to decision. It's +110. Yeah, I like that -150. I don't know if I'll be betting a side here because I kind of see it McKinney early or Ziam late, but I do like violence in this fight.
I do too. What did you say the fight doesn't go is?
-150.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a really fair price. I mean, of course, that's on 5 dimes. That'll probably get run up to -230, and then our books will open it at -220.
Yeah,
and we can just flip them off.
Yep, as always.
I know, man.
But maybe McKinney's sub could be interesting. I think it'd be a decent price because I think a lot of people expect him to go out here and starch Ziam on the feet. And maybe he does, but I think the sub is like really sneaky.
Yeah, that's, I think that's McKinney's best path here because this guy Ziam is really, really good on the feet. So, we know that somebody with a wrestling background like McKinney is probably going to use that wrestling background, just like he did against another striker in Sean Woodson on the Contender Series. This is a guy who's a boxer. What did McKinney do? He went right out there and went to the wrestling. And we know that Sean Woodson is extremely hard to take down and hold down because he's so long. Zayam also 6'1", very big for the division, and he's quite used to being grappled. So I think it's just a great stylistic matchup. It's going to be a really good fight.
It's going to be a very good fight indeed, but we are thinking some violence there. Let's move on to the next fight on the card, and we have the return of Joseph Benavidez. It's nice to see him back in there after a devastating loss against Davis and Figueiredo. Going against Ramona Pascual. Is that how you pronounce it? Pascual?
Pascual, I think. Yeah, Pascual, we'll say.
Ramona Pascual. Ramona, she is 33 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Joseph Benavidez, 28 years old, 5'2" with a 67-inch reach. So Nunez, she's going to be 5 years younger. She's going to have a 5-inch height disadvantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. I was really surprised to see that she's going to have a reach advantage. And I kind of feel like they're lying about her numbers here because she looks a lot smaller than 5'2", but it is what it is. So, Ramona is going to be the bigger fighter for sure. That's a fact. Ramona actually has been doing a lot of fights at like 145, and I think this fight is taking place at 145, which is very interesting considering Nunez is very small for 135 in terms of the height there. But yeah, this should be a very fun fight. We have Nunez, who did make her debut against Bay Malecki, and she went in there, and she's very fun to watch. She's like a Jessica Andrade, a very low-level, more handsome Jessica Andrade. She went in there and she knocked out Bay Malecki cold. Like, she has power. She comes forward. She closes the range. It was a very hilarious fight to watch. But yeah, Nunez looked good in that fight. But again, it was Bay Malecki. But you see, she's 5-0 her last 5 fights, and all 5 of those fights are coming by knockout. So she does have pretty legit power. Ramona, she has 4-1 in her last 5 fights, stepping in on short notice. This is going to be Nunez's like 3rd new opponent. But yeah, Ramona's stepping in. She does train out of Syndicate MMA, and I wasn't able to see a ton of her fights. I was able to watch 1 full fight and then like 2 highlights. The full fight I watched was from 2018, where her striking did not look good at all. She looked very hittable. She did go for some takedowns. She did get them. She ultimately ended up getting reversed and eventually grounded, pounded out. Her cardio looked suspect. Her heart looked suspect. But I bet she has made improvements since then, especially training at Syndicate. And from what I've seen with the highlights, and I know they're highlights, but her striking does look like it is getting better, and she's a finisher as well. This fight has a very good chance of ending inside the distance. You have Nunez, who's a very good finisher. You have Ramona, who's a very good finisher. I think Ramona, in her 8 fights, has only been to decision 1 time, and that was a 2-round decision. Yeah, this should be a very fun fight. I think Nunez is very exciting, but I don't know a lot about this Ramona, and that's what kind of makes it a question mark. There's not a ton of footage available out there on her.
Yeah, she's from Hong Kong, and she fought on the Asian scene. I was just kind of looking at her record prior to the show starting, and I know she had a fight in Wulang Feng, which is where we saw people like Na Liang, and even Diana Belbita had a couple fights in Wulang Feng. The most recent victory for her was in Invicta against a girl that was 2-0. But I watched the fight, man. This girl just didn't look great, Wow, my screen completely frozen. Can you hear me, Brady?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Good. Yeah, my screen just kind of froze over here for a second. But yeah, the losses to Janae Harding. Janae Harding's fought some decent competition, and she's won in IMPI World Series, Road FC, Wulang Feng, Icon, which I believe is Masvidal's thing. But the women that she's beating: 0-2, 0-0, 0-0, 4-5, 0-0, and 2-0. And then Josiani Nunez is, knocking out cashiers and soccer moms on the Brazilian regional scene. And, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If anybody has ever seen Josiani Nunez and Joe Benavidez in the same room at the same time, just holler at me, and I'll stop bringing it up. Because my fear is that I'm going to be right on this. And then because I didn't say anything on the air, I'll say I knew it the whole time. And then people are like, Uncle Weezy, you're lying. But here, I've said it here. I've said it the last time that she fought. I just want to see those two in the same room at the same time, and then I'll stop it. But she hits like a man. She does, dude. The way that she put out Malecki was nasty. So I think that this fight doesn't go to decision is going to be a great bet. Did we even get an opening line on the prop here?
We do, and they're all over it.
Oh, really? Okay, what is it?
I'll pull it up. It looks like it is minus 160.
Damn, yeah, for a women's fight, dude.
I wanted
Shit.
plus money.
Yeah, usually they open plus money, because even bantamweight fights I think finish maybe 41% of the time. So that's 59% of the time it's not finishing. So when you're paying negative money right off the bat to get a fight doesn't go, the bookies are all over it. But yeah, this is definitely a fight that shouldn't go to decision. Nunez hits very, very hard. But neither one of these ladies has fought great competition. And, this is the third opponent for Josiani Nunez. And I think it's maybe because some people are thinking the same thing that I am. And nobody wants to fight Joe Benavidez on his comeback tour. So maybe that's why they're having a hard time finding opponents for Josiani. But maybe it's just because she hits really hard and she's a dangerous woman and she's 8-1. And her only loss, Brady, do you remember who it's to?
Tyler Santos.
Tyler Santos is the only woman to beat this girl Nunez. So I really do believe that Nunez should be getting the job done here. If Pascual does shock the world, good on her. She did move from Asia to the United States about a little less than a year ago. So she's getting training in a different spot now. She's definitely going to start seeing some higher level opponents, and we'll see what that camp change has done for her. We could see a completely new Ramona Pascual, and she looked fantastic in her last win in Invicta. So she's on the right path. And I just don't know how good Nunez is. I'll be looking at the fight doesn't go here and maybe staying away from the money lines.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a tough fight to call in a way. I mean, I'm going to obviously pick Nunez here, but I just don't know enough about Ramona. There are some question marks with her. And like you said, she could be making improvements. So the fight I watched, she looked horrible, but in her last recent fight, she does look a little bit better. And, there are some red flags with Nunez. I have seen her taken down, stuck on her back. Maybe that could be a path to victory for Ramona as well. Especially being the bigger fighter. We knew that Bay Malecki wasn't going to go out there and shoot takedowns against Nunez. She kind of just stood there like an idiot, but maybe Ramona comes in here and goes for takedowns. But I do want to shout out Mystic Lista. Appreciate you for the $5 dono. They got it backwards. Nunez at 2.5. I swear, I think she's like 4'9". Like, I think she's lying about the 5'2". There's no way she's 5'2".
You can just tell sometimes. Like, I was watching tape on one of these. I don't know if it was Elton Murano. No, I think it was Hernandez, and he fought this dude called Gustavo Bellart, who is a medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling. They had this dude listed at 4'11". And I'm like, dude, he's 4'9". I mean, when you look at the guy, he was like this muscle. It was all muscle. But I mean, like 4'11" was generous. So sometimes you see these people that are short, and because they're in a cage, they look even shorter than and I mean, especially fighting Bea Malecki, that didn't help at all. She's a giant. So yeah, it could be 2'5". You never know.
A lot of people in the chat are actually talking about Nunez gassing. Like, that's a concern. Like, Nunez gas tank is very questionable. We didn't really get to see it extended in the Malecki fight because she knocked her out in that first round. But if this does get extended, who's going to have the better gas tank? I did see Ramona gas out in the one fight, but again, that was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, and Nunez outlasted all of her opponents on the Brazilian regional scene, but like you were saying, they were all soccer moms and cashiers, so it just looked like they had one round of gas. So I never saw Nunez's gas tank abandon her. Actually, I think her gas tank is the reason that she's been winning on the regional scene, to be honest with you. But she's knocking everybody out within 2 rounds, so who really knows how good her gas tank is?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, this is a pretty hilariously low level fight. But I am looking forward to the return of Joey B. Hopefully he can bounce back after a brutal loss against Davison Figueiredo.
2 brutal losses.
2 very brutal losses. The last one more convincing. But Carrillo saying, let's get to 100 likes. I agree. We do have 227 in the chat, which is like the most we've had in like months. Glad football is over.
Yeah.
Love-hate relationship with it. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you all so much for hanging out on a Sunday. We do go live every Sunday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, I say we take a look at the odds here. So Josiani Nunez, these odds honestly surprised me. So she opened up minus 175. She dropped to minus 110 instantly. And then she's now minus 173. Ramona opened up plus 150. She went all the way down to a minus 110 pick'em, and she's now back to plus 148. These odds seem like they're too close. I think somebody might know something about Ramona here because, again, I don't know much about her. She could have made a lot of improvements. So why is Nunez only minus 173? I thought she'd be like a huge favorite in this spot. And by the way, Nunez was actually a huge favorite against that Jennifer Gonzalez girl coming in. She was minus 325 against Jennifer Gonzalez, but she's only minus 173 here. So yeah, I'm not touching this fight from a money line perspective. Way too many unknowns, but from a violence perspective, I could get to something there, which is minus 160. Maybe something better will come out later in the week.
Yeah, you have to kind of see where they open, just because, the pure analytics, where the bookies are going to start is with that, finish rate for the division. So, if you wait and see where it opens on FanDuel, where it opens on DraftKings, as long as the line doesn't get moved too much on 5 dimes, you might see it open close to, plus 100, even maybe minus 110, minus 120. So I'm not running the book to bet any women's bantamweight fight to finish inside the distance when one of them is making their debut at minus 150. That's a little wide. So we'll see if we can get something better.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be touching that. And not only that, is I just don't like the fact that this fight is going to be at 145 pounds. Like, Nunez is not a 145-pound fighter. And then I do want to take a look at Ramona and see where she has been fighting as of late. So 2022, she did fight at a catchweight of 150. So she is big. She is big. She does have thick legs. 150 catchweight back in 2022. That was in January. And then back in 2021, she fought at 145. I see a 134 bantamweight. I see a 136. And I see a 141. So, yeah, she's big. She's going to be a bigger fighter in this fight.
Yeah, and she doesn't look like she's out of shape by any stretch of the imagination. She looks like a natural featherweight. And yeah, and Nunez just doesn't. I mean, she's obviously got a ton of power, and Nunez got big legs, man. I mean, she and that's where the power comes from. So yeah, she's going to be much smaller here. And the fact that she did move here to Syndicate, shows that she's all in. She's trying to get better. We'll see. This is going to be an interesting test.
Yep, it will be for sure. I think it'll be a very exciting and pretty hilarious fight, I can imagine. But move on to the next fight. We have Rong Zhu going against Ignacio Bahamondes. Rong Zhu, he is 21 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Ignacio Bahamondes, 24 years old, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Rong Zhu is going to be 3 years younger. It's crazy that this guy's 21 years old. And he has 22 fights. I think that's nuts. Bahamondes is going to have a massive height advantage of 6 inches and then also a 4-inch reach advantage. I'm very high on both these guys. A lot of people were kind of counting out Rong Zhu after his debut loss against Gustavo Vargas, and then he comes back against Brandon Jenkins and looks very, very good, racking up a ton of takedowns, eventually getting a knockout. Ignacio Bahamondes loses his debut against John McDessie, and he comes back and puts on a very good performance against Roosevelt Roberts. So I did have some question marks about Bahamondes in terms of the takedown defense. I was like, man, what happens if this guy gets taken down to the mat, especially against Roosevelt Roberts, who's a very good grappler? But all my questions did get answered because, man, this guy's takedown defense looked legit. He's very long, very lengthy, very hard to hold down or take down. He showed incredible balance. He was doing all the right things. So his takedown defense looked absolutely elite. And I think he's going to need that takedown defense here against Rong Zhu, who's a very good wrestler, completing 9 out of 12 takedowns thus far in 2 fights with a 75% takedown accuracy. It's simple as this. I think on the feet, it's Bahamondes for me pretty clearly. I think both guys are hittable, but especially Rong Zhu. I think Rong Zhu is very, very hittable. And I also like that Bahamondes is going to have a height advantage. He's going to have a reach advantage. And this guy throws incredible volume. Both guys throw good volume, but Bahamondes' volume is incredible. He attempts 17 significant strike attempts per minute. He mixes it up very well to the body, to the head, to the legs, very good body kicks. He punches to the body as well. I really like this guy on the feet. And with Rong Zhu being so hittable, I don't like that for him. Rong Zhu is going to have to get this fight down to the mat. He's not going to win a striking fight with Bahamondes, especially considering he lost a striking fight against Gustavo Vargas. So, he's going to have to get it down to the mat. And I think that Bahamondes' takedown defense is good enough to keep it upright. And I don't know if he knocks out Rongju, but I think it's going to be pretty one-sided if Rongju doesn't get it down to the mat. So I like Bahamondes here a decent amount. We'll talk about the line. It's definitely wide, but I think if his takedown defense holds up and it's looked phenomenal, I think it's a really solid matchup for him. Weezy, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, man, China against Chile here, very interesting. And a 21-year-old against a 24-year-old, two really good prospects. Going to be a really good fight. Ignacio, another Chicago guy coming out of Valley Flow Striking. So that he's the second guy on the card that Mike Valley's going to be coaching here. And we got Zhu Rong out of Enbo Fight Club in China. At these guys' ages, 24 and 21, they've got a combined 38 professional fights. I mean, I think Zhu Rong started fighting professionally when he was 9. You know, these guys are starting at very, very young ages. Bahamondes' father is a champion kickboxer, so he's been kickboxing his entire life. Now he's a mixed martial artist. He's got 16 professional mixed martial arts fights, and Rong's got 22. Bahamondes 3 at the UFC level, Rong 2 at the UFC level. The experience numbers are pretty comparable here. Bahamondes finishing 9 of his 12 wins inside the distance by knockout. Zhu Rong finishing 89% of his 18 wins inside the distance. 12 of them by knockout, and 4 of them by submission. And these guys have lost inside the distance quite a bit as well, as 5 of their 8 combined losses have come inside the distance. And they're all by submission, which is interesting. Neither one of these guys has ever been knocked out. So yeah, Bahamondes is going to be the better striker here. Zhu Rong is going to be a very good wrestler, but we can't just say that Bahamondes is going to win all the minutes on the feet, because in that debut fight, we saw John Makdessi, who was much shorter, much less reach, just walk forward the entire time. And Bahamondes dealt with it okay, but if you stay in this dude's face, it makes it very difficult for him to get off those long range kickboxing attacks, like that wheel kick that he caught Roosevelt Roberts with in the 3rd round. Zhu Rong could have some success on the feet if he does stay in Ignacio's face. But when you look at the striking numbers, Zhu Rong absorbs 0.3 more significant strikes than he lands. And Ignacio Bahamondes is landing like 2.2 more significant strikes than he absorbs. So he's throwing a lot more volume than his opponents. He's absorbing less defensively, as he's got a 57% striking defense compared to Rong's 51%. Ignacio really isn't going to wrestle much. He's never gotten a takedown, but he's successfully defended all 17 takedown attempts against him in the UFC. So the takedown defense has been very good. But then again, Zhu Rong getting his takedowns at a 75% clip and out-controlling his opponents at a 10-to-1 ratio, Brady. Very good. But, you know, it was the short notice opponent in Brandon Jacobs that he did that to. He did also have some wrestling success against Kazula Vargas as well. And I saw him be able to wrestle a little bit on the regional scene as well. He even has a win over Shayilan Nurdembeke, who we saw recently get a win over Sean Soriano in the UFC. So this guy has faced some regional scene competition that's not terrible. But Bahamondes, you know, like you said, Brady, the kickboxing is really on another level here. And if Zhu Rong doesn't stay in his face and gives Ignacio time to work and distance to do his thing, I think that, Ignacio probably wins this fight probably 8, 9 out of 10 times. But Zhu Rong is going to mix in that wrestling, and he's probably going to pressure Ignacio. And if he does those things well, he could win this fight. So it's a very, very interesting fight against 2 really good prospects that are really young and unusually experienced at their age. I can't wait for this fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I really like Rongju. I just don't really like this matchup for him. I thought initially I might be taking a look at potentially betting him because those odds are interesting. We have Bahamondes open up -260, is now -225. Rongju open up +220. He's now +190. the takedown defense of Bahamondes really, really impressed me. You bring up the McDessie fight, and McDessie's a guy that he threw like over 200 significant strikes in that fight. And McDessie's a guy that has a 69% striking defense. I just don't think that Rongju has anywhere near that good of striking defense. Rongju is very, very hittable, and so is Bahamondes. But I do like the volume of Bahamondes here. Yeah, so minus 225, and it's all love for Rongju. I get it. It could be a little closer, but I'm going to pick Bahamondes. I'm definitely not betting it at that line. If it gets a little closer, I might take a look at it, but I don't really see myself pulling the trigger on this fight. The fight goes to decision minus 145. The fight doesn't go to decision plus 105. No strong lean one way or another. Like you said, both guys are very, very tough. Both guys have never been knocked out, and I don't really expect that to change. So I'm going to go Bahamondes by decision, but I'm not going to be betting this fight more than likely.
And since neither one of these guys are really submission artists, fight goes to decisions, not a bad look, simply because Bahamondes, dude, I mean, McDessie beat the shit out of him in the first round, and that kid never quit. He is seriously, seriously tough. He's really born to do this. And Zhu Rong's only been submitted. Nobody's ever knocked that dude out. He had a war with Kazula Vargas, so unless Ignacio lands one of those spectacular wheel kicks or one of those things that, you know, pretty much nobody wakes up from quickly. Yeah, I think this fight probably goes to decision.
Yep, it could. It'd be a sweat betting that, though, because these
Oh,
guys
God, they're both such good finishers, yeah. But they're both tough, you know?
Very tough, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is a good one, man. This is two really good young prospects. Can't wait to see how this one turns out. But, yeah, for me, it's a big stay away right now until I do a little more research.
Yeah, it's going to be a stay away for me, but I do think Bahamondes gets it done. We'll move on to the next fight. We have a very intriguing one. We have Armin Petrosian going against Gregory Rodriguez. We have Petrosian, who is 31 years old, 6'3", with a 71-inch reach. Gregory Rodriguez, 30 years old, 6'3", with a 75-inch reach. Rodriguez is actually going to be younger. This guy does not look 30 years old, but apparently he is. And then also he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. We'll take a look at the last few fights. Armin Petrosian did get a knockout win on the Contender Series, and he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and 4 of those wins coming by knockout, and that loss coming by knockout as well. Gregory Rodriguez, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, had a loss on the Contender Series against one Jordan Williams by knockout. Definitely not a good look, but he does make his debut against Dusko Todoroy, which I believe on short notice, wins by decision. Pretty one-sided in that fight, and then also wins a very exciting fight against Jung Park, the Iron Turtle, a guy that's known for his durability, and actually knocks the guy out. So this fight's very good, and I like this fight a lot. Petrosian, this guy's striking is no joke. Very good kicks. I believe he has a karate background, a little bit Muay Thai as well, and he has a ton of power in his hands. And a lot of his fights, they all kind of play out the same way. This is how it goes. His opponents come in, they take him down, rinse and repeat multiple times. They hold him against the cage, and then his opponent gasses out, and then he knocks him out. And I went back and watched every fight I could, and I swear, like, every single fight I watched played out that exact same way. His opponents come in, get him down easy. He has bad takedown defense, but he survives. His opponents slow down, and he knocks him out. At range, this guy is an absolute problem. And at range, although I really like the striking of Gregory Rodriguez, I don't think he's going to want to strike with Petrosian here, especially getting knocked out by one Jordan Williams is not a good look, and I don't really like the chin of Rodriguez. If I'm Rodriguez, I'm getting this fight down to the mat early and often. He was able to kind of implement that game plan against Dusko a little bit. Didn't have a ton of success. Dusko is a black belt, and he was able to implement that wrestling-heavy game plan a little bit against Jung Park. Was able to take him down in the first round and in the second. Took us back in the first round. Was not able to get the sub, but if Gregory Rodriguez gets on top of Petrosian early, I think Petrosian could be in a lot of trouble here. So this is a fight where I think Rodriguez is going to have a lot of success early. If he does not finish Petrosian, the gas tank worries me about Rodriguez, and then also the chin of Rodriguez concerns me. I think it's Rodriguez early, or I think it's Petrosian late, but I think someone's getting finished here, Weezy.
Yeah, I agree, man. What's up to Mills? See him there in the chat. Yeah, man. God, you said it perfectly. Every Petrosian fight takes place the same way because nobody really wants to box with this guy. And because he's fighting in Russia, there are just so many good wrestlers over there. The Ali Skarov fight, the Minikov fight, and the Kolev fight. Notice all those names end with a V. What do names that end with a V usually do really well? They wrestle really well. And you can even look at the stats for Petrosyan's one UFC fight. He got 0.37% control time for. He yielded 79.4% control time against, and he wins by knockout. And that's exactly what happened. Kolev goes in there, shoots for a takedown, gets him up against the cage, kind of rinsing and repeating. As soon as Petrosyan gets out and at range, within the first 3 strikes that he lands, fight's over. Lands a body kick, folds Kolev. And before that, he lands great straight punches to the head, which bring the hands up, lands to the body, fight over. Same thing in the Minikov fight. Same thing in the Aliskerov fight. As soon as he breaks his opponent's grip, gets out into space, he is starching dudes. He is folding them. And Rodriguez has been hittable. I mean, very, very hittable. Jordan Williams had him in trouble. Jinyoung Park, Rodriguez's chin worried me before the Jinyoung Park fight, but then Jinyoung Park's out there just beating the hell out of him, and he doesn't go down, and he comes back from the dead and gets the knockout win over Jinyoung Park. So which Rodriguez chin is showing up this week? Is it going to be the Jordan Williams chin, or is it going to be the Jinyoung Park chin? I don't know. We're going to have to wait to see. But if it's the Jordan Williams chin, oh boy, he better control every single second of this fight, because if he doesn't, if he gives 1 second of range for Petrosyan to land that nasty body kick or a straight right, he's probably going down. But Rodriguez, we know that this dude has seriously high-level jiu-jitsu. So that's usually what separates the Russians from the Brazilians is the Russians will get you down and keep you there. The Brazilians might have a hard time getting you down, but if they do get you down and they get your back to the mat, chances are they're going to finish you down there. So what is going to happen here? Is Petrosyan going to be able to keep this dude off of him? Is he going to be able to survive early while Rodriguez is going for takedowns and trying to finish the fight? Because if you have to run that kind of a game plan where you're trying to get 80% control time against your opponent, the amount of gas that you have to have in your tank in order to achieve that objective is very high. And we know that Rodriguez is bricked up, and he's got a lot of muscle to feed on that frame of his. So I echo your sentiments. I think it's Rodriguez early or Petrosyan late, but I don't see this fight seeing the scorecards, man.
Definitely not. And yeah, I don't see Rodriguez being able to come out here and implement a wrestling-heavy game plan. I just don't think he has the gas tank to do it. So I think Rodriguez is going to have to finish early, or I think Petrosyan's going to get him later in the fight. So yeah, it's a tough one to call. Let's take a look at these odds. We have Rodriguez opening up -200. He is now -170. Petrosyan opened up +170. He is now +145. And it's a tough one to call because I think that Rodriguez's ground game is absolutely legit. It's extremely underrated. This guy's a legit grappler. And if he can't get on top of Petrosyan, he very well could finish. But if Petrosyan can survive, and by the way, Petrosyan is at American Top Team, so he's definitely working on that takedown defense. He really needs to. It's awful. His takedown defense is absolutely awful. So he definitely needs to work on that. But he's going to have to survive that first round, get it into the later rounds, and eventually knock out a gassed Rodriguez, or Rodriguez submits him early. It's a tough fight to call. I do think the odds probably should be closer because, again, Rodriguez, I don't like the gas tank. I don't like the chin, and Petrosyan's no joke on the feet. The fight goes to decision, +225. The fight doesn't go to decision, is -305, which sounds about right to me. I don't really see this fight going the distance.
Yeah, 4 combined losses between these two guys, 3 of them inside the distance. So if you're handicapping the line based on that statistic, you would have the fight doesn't go right at -300. The bookies got it at -305. They don't want to give you a discount, and the fight doesn't go for this fight, and I don't blame them, man. The way that this guy Petrosyan hits, he folds dudes quickly, and Rodriguez is been a great finisher at this level. I mean, the only guy he hasn't finished yet in the UFC or been finished by is Todorovic. So, yeah, this is a great fight. 2 really good prospects here. And I lean that grappling advantage and that experience for Rodriguez, but I do worry about his ability to absorb those strikes of Petrosyan on the feet. And I worry about the gas tank of Rodriguez in order to be able to push the kind of wrestling heavy game plan for 3 rounds that he might need to push in order to stay safe on the feet here. So I think I might be leaning Petrosyan in terms of just betting lines and getting the fight done. But whoever I did, I would probably bet him to win inside the distance.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd be shocked if this fight did go to decision. But then again, I would have been. I was shocked that the Porter Badeau fight went to decision. So you never know.
Yeah.
But let's keep moving on. I cannot wait for these next 2 fights. Actually, we have Tsarukyan, Joel Alvarez. This should be a very good one. I was telling you earlier, like this is a fight I feel like could be on like a pay-per-view main card. Like this fight's phenomenal. You have Armin Cerukian, who's 25 years old, 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. Alvarez, he is 28 years old, 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. So Alvarez, he's going to be 3 years older, and this is huge here. Alvarez is going to have a massive 8-inch height advantage and then a massive 5-inch reach advantage. This guy is huge for the division. And on top of that, it's a given that he's going to miss weight. So he's going to get another advantage in terms of the weight, because I can almost assure you that he will not be making weight, and he'll eventually probably have to move up at some point. But I think he's missed weight 2 times in a row. So I'm kind of shocked he has not moved up yet, but we'll see if he makes weight, but I'm predicting he does not. But this guy's huge, absolutely huge. This is a very good fight. Tsarukyan, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, makes his debut against Islam Makachev. Huge underdog, obviously. This guy came in, I want to say he was like 21 or 22 years old, and put up a pretty competitive fight. It was clear that Makhachev won that fight, but he made a very good account for himself there. And then he comes back and gets a win against OAM. He gets a decision win against Davi Hamosh, a decision win against Matt Frivola, and then goes out there with a very good performance against Christos Giagos and knocks him out there. Joel Alvarez, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He makes a debut against Damir Ismagulov, which is a very tough fight. He loses by decision. He knocks out Danilo Belluardo. He submits Joe Duffy. He submits Alexander Yakovlev, and he knocks out Thiago Moises. So I'm still trying to figure out, who or what Joel Alvarez is. I kind of thought of this guy as a grappler because he literally has like an 84% submission rate, so many submissions on his record, but he actually considers himself a striker, and you kind of see why in his last fight against Thiago Moises. He went out there and completely starched Moises. He looked 5 weight classes bigger. Yes, he missed weight and cheated, but he looked 5 weight classes bigger, and he looked sharp, and he looked dangerous on the feet. So, and even like going back and watch some of his other fights, like against Joe Duffy, like he was having a lot of success on the feet, which ultimately made Joe Duffy shoot in for a takedown. He subs him. He was having success on the feet against Yakovlev, which made Yakovlev shoot in, and then he subs him. So this guy is pretty good on the feet. He's dangerous. And the thing about Joel Alvarez is he's dangerous anywhere the fight goes. On the feet, he is very dangerous. On the feet, he's probably going to have a nice advantage here against Armin Cerukian, who I think is a good striker. But, Alvarez is going to be so much bigger. He's going to have so much a bigger reach. He's going to use his range really well. And on top of that, he hits very, very hard. So I think on the feet, Alvarez is going to be a big problem in this matchup. And then on the mat, like that's Alvarez's bread and butter. This guy is very good. He's very active. I will say he can be taken down easily. He has a 0% takedown defense, but that's because he's very comfortable off his back. So on the feet, Alvarez is going to be very comfortable. On his back, he's going to be very comfortable, very dangerous. And that's what makes Alvarez so intriguing. And on top of that, the dude's huge, and he's going to miss weight, and he's going to be even bigger than Tsarukyan here. So this is a very weird fight because Tsarukyan's a guy that I'm very high on, but Alvarez is kind of getting on my radar here. Weezy, what do you think about this one here?
I think it's a great fight. I can't wait to talk more about it. Obviously Alvarez, the much bigger guy. You look at the experience numbers; they're very, very similar. Just Tsarukyan's fights are a little bit longer on average than Alvarez's. Alvarez a 100% finish rate in a 19-win sample size. I mean, come on, man, that's crazy. To never win a decision in that many wins just shows how dangerous this guy is. And then Tsarukyan's finishing fights at a 64% clip. So I think that's 11 out of 17 wins for him. 6 by knockout, 5 by submission. So he's an equal opportunity finisher. And I remember you telling me before the Moises fight that you heard an interview with Álvarez where he said he was a striker.
Yeah.
And that his opponents just took him down. I laughed so fucking loud when you said that, dude. I'm like, he's not a striker. He's fucking terrible, right? How are you a striker when you have, 18 submission wins and 1 knockout win at the time going into the Moises fight? And I think he had 2 knockout wins, and one of them was over Bellart, which was a ground and pound knockout. And I'm like, he's not a striker. And what Álvarez had said is, look, I'm a striker, but my opponents don't want to deal with my striking, so they take me down, and when I'm on my back, I submit them. But I can't help that I'm a striker first. Well, man, did he prove it in that Moises fight. I mean, he absolutely destroyed Moises on the feet, made him look like an amateur, and I was just sitting there with my jaw wide open because I was very confident in my Moises bet because, Moises is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, black belt. I felt like he would be safe on the ground with Álvarez, and that Álvarez is a guy that, I didn't think much of his striking. Well, I mean, I was just proven wrong. And now after that fight, it's got me thinking, well, where are you supposed to beat this guy? I mean, if you take him down, you're going to be in his guard, and he's just getting a ton of submissions there. And it's not just that he's good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's that he's got freakishly long limbs for the division, and it's something that you really can't train for. You can't train for somebody that's 6 inches taller than you and in the same weight class a lot of times. I mean, usually if you're training with somebody that much bigger than you, they might be 3 weight classes above you. It's different, So, this Álvarez guy, he's just a problem, man. 19-2 in his career. He's finished 100% of his wins. The length is sick. He's a weight bully. And if you take him down and try to win minutes on the ground, he has a very good chance of finishing you down there. Now, we do have to remember that this guy was able to not be submitted by Islam Makachev for 15 minutes straight. So perhaps, Tsarukyan can easily get takedowns here whenever he wants them. I mean, Álvarez will fold like a lawn chair if you shoot a takedown on him. Can he stay safe on the ground with Álvarez and win minutes there? Just not, because it's not just good enough to take him down. If he takes him down and he's defending submissions for the next 4 minutes, they might give the round to Álvarez. So you got to help me out here, dude. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that I might go with the dog here in Álvarez because, like you said, on the feet, Álvarez is very dangerous, and on the mat, Álvarez is very dangerous. He's very active. He's throwing up submissions nonstop, but there are some red flags in the Bellart fight. Bellart is not good at all. He was able to take down Joe Álvarez in the first round and control him for that whole first round, and then he did it again in the second round, and then ultimately Bellart gets reversed, and then Álvarez TKOs him there. So I get why Cirkuan is the favorite here. I think this guy's legit. I think his wrestling is absolutely legit. Like you said, he survived 3 rounds with Makhachev, but I think Álvarez is going to have opportunities. I think he's going to have opportunities on the feet. I think he's going to have opportunities on the mat to get a finish. And he's only 28, and Cirkuan's only 25. But I think both these guys are going to be making improvements. I'm going to take the dog here in Álvarez. I'm going to take the pretty big dog, actually. And I'm not sure why. Is it showing up for you on Best Fight Odds, the fight?
Let me look. I'll refresh the page here.
All right, because it's not showing up for me, but I'm on my betting account, and I have Cirkuan at -300 and then Álvarez at +235, but it's not showing up on Best Fight Odds for some reason.
Cirkuan is -300?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's not showing that. I don't see it either on Best Fight Odds. So that's odd because this fight's been made for a while, right? These guys, there haven't been any changes of opponents here, right?
No, not
yeah, so that's weird. Why wouldn't they have it on there? That's really odd. That seems wide, but dude, when you go through the last 5 for Cirkuan, and if you're saying like, I think Álvarez submits him, well, Makhachev couldn't, Olivier Aubin Mercier couldn't, Davy Ramos, world Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, couldn't, Matt Frivola couldn't, and Christos Iagos couldn't. I mean, the grappling pedigrees of those 5 guys are all unquestioned. They're all very, very good on the ground. Yeah. So Álvarez lost a striking match against Demetrius Magulov. There is no shame in that. Demetrius Magulov is on a completely different level in terms of striking. he destroys Belluardo on the ground when he gets into an advantageous position after he sweeps him. He submits Joe Duffy, who had one foot out the door. The Thunder of the North, Alexander Yakovlev, fresh off a unsuccessful rap debut, gets submitted. And then Moises. So I see why Tsarukyan's the big favorite here. He's been able to swim on the ground with a lot of dangerous grapplers and win minutes there. 34.41% control time for 3.38 takedowns per 15 minutes. And what's crazy too? Tsarukyan has never even had a submission attempt attempted against him. So he must be very defensively responsible on the ground, being on the ground with the guys like Ramos, Mercier, Makhachev, and they couldn't even attempt a submission against him. Maybe he might be able to win minutes on the ground against Álvarez comfortably. And if he doesn't like how the striking is going, perhaps he can win a ton of them down there.
I mean, if Tsarukyan wants a takedown, Álvarez is going to give it to him. Álvarez
That's right.
Gets knocked down by a gust of wind.
Yeah, dude, Álvarez is the easiest girl at the dance. If you want to take him down, he is there to be taken down,
Yeah, and Tsarukyan's wrestling's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. He'll have no problem getting Álvarez down. It's just, can he survive those submission attempts? We'll have to see. But big favorite for Tsarukyan. I have a sneaky way of playing this fight. I talked to you about it a little bit. I'm going to be looking at that finish only on DraftKings when it does come out. I don't see Álvarez winning a decision. He has a 100% finish rate, right, Álvarez?
100% in 19 wins too.
Yeah, so I don't see him winning a decision against Tsarukyan. I think Tsarukyan's definitely going to be the minute winner, especially with that wrestling. But if it does go to decision, it gets voided. I'm kind of thinking Tsarukyan by decision because he has not finished many opponents. His last finish was against Giagos, but before that, 4 decisions in a row. And Álvarez has been finished once by knockout. But I might take a look at that finish only. I don't know if I'm going to touch the money line, but I'm hoping to get good odds on that finish only, or same thing as the scorecards equals no action.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Álvarez who's never won a decision. So, yeah, Tsarukyan decision-only prop. But the problem with that is that's probably minus 300, minus 350.
Easily, yeah.
But, the way that you're thinking of playing it is, hey, man, if Tsarukyan wins a decision and I bet the Álvarez finish-only prop, I don't lose anything. It's kind of like how we bet that, or I bet that Jamal Hill after Narco Cop said, Jamal Hill decision only prop minus 150. And I'm like, man, Johnny Walker's not going to win minutes. And then it turns out he didn't even win a second. He got started so fast, but it's nice to get those decision only bets, those finish only bets, because sometimes you can find some value there and you're really not risking anything because the fight will get voided if it goes to decision or if it finishes. So, I think it's a great way to play it.
And I wonder if there's a line on if Álvarez is going to make weight or not. Because if I get a good line on the misses weight, I might take a big bet on that.
Weight miss might be like minus 350 if there was a line available on that, man. I mean, this guy is just absolutely huge for the division. So, and he's not a 170er. So, yeah, we'll see if he makes weight this time. I don't, because if he doesn't, they're going to just move him up to welterweight, and he won't be nearly as dangerous there.
Yeah, 100%. Blood Money MMA Bets, another guy in the community that does post some videos. Go check him out. But he says he bet Álvarez, and after watching way more tape, this guy is a problem, and I want to bet more on him now. I have 1.25 units to win 3 now. So Blood Money is on the Álvarez side, also saying you might never get a guy this good at plus 250 again, who has Armin beat to warrant this price. He had a good fight with Islam in a grappling match loss. So Blood Money on the Álvarez side. I am on the Álvarez side, but I'm going to be looking at that finish only or the scorecards, no action, hoping to get a very good line on it. Yes, we don't have a line on the fight goes or fight doesn't go, and I could have sworn they had the odds on best fight odds like either earlier today or like last night, but they took it off for some reason, which is weird, but we'll see what happens. Mbae saying, does Álvarez have gassing problems? Well, I don't know because we haven't really seen him extended outside of Ismagulov.
He's been to one decision in his damn life, so you'd have to dig up that tape to see how he did in the 3rd round. I have no idea how his cardio is, but, we haven't seen him gas yet. I mean, but Tsarukyan's cardio is unquestioned. There's 100%. No question about that.
100%. This fight's so good. This is probably my second favorite fight on the entire card behind Cachoeira.
behind Cachoeira Kim, because my God, you want to talk about a banger here. We got it coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Strap it down. Jinyoung Kim, missing fist against Priscila, catch a cheating. Boy, does it get any better than this, Brady.
Oh my goodness. All right. Yeah, 258 of you in here on a Sunday. That is a lot. Appreciate you guys hanging out here on Pub Sports Radio. Leave a like, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. A ton of great content throughout the week, ton of great people on the channel as well. So let's go to my favorite fight of the night. We have Jinyoung Kim, a fire fist going against, like you said, Priscila, catch a beating, aka catch a cheating. This fight's going to be. Is this fight on the freaking main card, dude?
Well, that's what it says. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine if this fight was closer to the main event than Tsarukyan Álvarez?
It blows my mind. Like, this fight should be on, like,
it should
Bellator
not be that. I mean, we're obviously kidding. Tsarukyan Álvarez should be the co-main event at the very least. I mean, frankly, it's a main event worthy fight for a fight night card. But yeah, this is on the main card right now, because I'll tell you something though. It is better than the other two women's fights on this card.
100%. Fight's good, man.
It's not saying much, man. It's like being the tallest little person, but you know, it's still something, you know.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this fight, because I don't know. This fight's hilarious. We have Jinyoung Kim, Fire Fist. She's going to be 1 year younger, and then she's also going to have a 7-inch reach advantage. I think that is extremely important to note. Jinyoung Kim, she is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. A knockout win against Nadia Kasim, a decision loss against Antonina Shevchenko, decision loss to Alexa Grasso, and then decision loss to Molly McCann. Priscila catch a beating. She is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. I think she made her debut against Valentina Shevchenko, if I'm not mistaken, if that's her debut or not. But she did fight. Yeah, she did. And she got destroyed. I don't know who sanctioned that fight. Whoever sanctioned that fight should probably be in jail.
It was a short notice. Yeah, she was supposed to fight somebody of her quality, and then Priscila saved the fight at the last minute.
That could have been the biggest ass shaving. You got to make a video like top 5 ass shavings. That could be up there in the top 5 easily.
Easily, dude. That was brutal. Was that Mario Yamasaki? I think that might have been his last fight, because people were like, Mario, stop the fight for the love of God. This woman is not going to quit. She's a zombie. And yeah, he just let that go on way too long.
Yeah, the strikes in that fight was like 100-2. It was insane. But so that happened. Then she comes back against Molly McCann, has a very good fight there, loses by decision. She gets submitted by Luana Carolina. I think that was a decision, right? Or am I thinking about it?
I might have entered it wrong. It's definitely a possibility. But yeah, I think that was a decision. But Luana won that fight comfortably.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And then I know this for a fact. She knocked out Shanna Dobson like within the first couple minutes in that fight. I remember betting on Priscila Cachoeira as a dog in that fight, and it was the very first fight of the night, and I actually missed it because it happened so fast. So yeah, she knocked out Shanna Dobson. She knocked out Gina Mazzani in a fight where Mazzani was looking good early, and then she gassed out very bad. She gets knocked out, and then this is where she got her nickname Priscila Catch a Cheating, because not only did she miss weight to gain an advantage in an obvious fight where Robertson's going to want to take her down, but she was grabbing the cage, and then she was trying to gouge the eyes out of Jillian Robertson. I think it was Chris Dione who was just completely oblivious to it, but that's where she got the catch of cheating. And honestly, I'm kind of shocked to see her back after that, but she is. And this is a very, very interesting fight. Some things I did want to bring up from the stats, and I'm sure you'll talk about them as well, Weezy, but Priscila Cachoeira's striking defense is some of the worst striking defense you will ever see in your life. A 40% striking defense. Not only that, she absorbs 6.97 significant strikes per minute, which is a ton. That's almost 7. And then she has a negative 3.15 significant strike differential. Like, if you throw something against Priscila Cachoeira, it's going to land. It's going to land. But will it with Jinyoung Kim, who has a 34% striking accuracy? Like, that's probably one of the worst in the division. Weezy, this fight's crazy. You have Jinyoung Kim, who can't hit water if she fell out of a boat, and then you have Priscila Cachoeira, who has no striking defense. This fight's going to be so funny, man. I think this fight's going to be a fight where they just stand and bang. Neither fighter has completed a takedown. They're both going to get the fight they want. This should be fun. This should be entertaining. This is going to be ugly. I have no clue what's going to happen here.
I think that what's going to happen is you're going to see a record for the amount of strikes thrown that didn't land in a fight. It's going to be, and you know what the best bet is for our guy Lou Betya, always out there betting for the yam bag shots, the point deduction, dude. Priscila Cachoeira is the Oakland Raiders of the UFC. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And Cachoeira will grab a fence. She'll gouge your eye. She will grab your shorts. She will put her fingers inside of your gloves. She will cheat as sure as that sun is going to come up tomorrow, and as sure as it's going to go back down in the night. Priscila Cachoeira is going to do whatever she can do to gain whatever small advantage she can in that cage, because she has one thing. Well, no, she has two things: power and heart. She's got both of those things in spades, and she basically has nothing else because she doesn't have a lot of technical ability. She's very bad with her wrestling defense. She can lose a ton of minutes on the ground, and her grappling really isn't there. Jinyoung Kim, like you said, she couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat, but she does hit hard. Both of these ladies hit hard. So, potentially we could see a good knockout here if either one of them can land a punch. But the problem is, you look at the takedown defense for Cachoeira. She's been taken down 9 times and controlled for 38% of her UFC career. And Jinyoung Kim's takedown defense is 40%. One of the reasons that I picked Molly McCann to shave her ass was I thought that Molly McCann would take her down. But actually, her takedown defense is getting a little bit better. There's a lot of holes in Jinyoung Kim's game, but I don't think Priscila Cachoeira is going to be the fighter to exploit those holes. Both of these ladies have power, but I think Kim will be the better kickboxer here. Cachoeira has obviously faced the better competition simply because she's faced Valentina Shevchenko. But when you look at the wins are better for Jinyoung Kim. And the overall numbers are a little bit better for Priscila Cachoeira. Neither one of these ladies has completed a takedown in the UFC, so I think it's pretty safe to say this is a kickboxing match. It takes place for 15 minutes. The more accurate, more busier, and more powerful striker will probably win. Jinyoung Kim is not more accurate than anybody except for Roxanne Modafferi, but she is the better technical kickboxer here. She is way more defensively responsible, to be honest. And she probably does win this fight. That hair is not naturally blonde. We've said that before, Brady. I have a very good eye for this kind of stuff. And the haircut isn't great either. There's a lot of things not to like about these ladies, but they both bang. They both hit hard. And it should be a fairly exciting fight. I'm hoping that it is, man, because just like the Belbita DePaula fight was good matchmaking, two good strikers going up against each other, this is good matchmaking as well. Two good strikers who have a lot of power and prefer to stand and bang. I think it's a good stylistic matchup. It'll probably be fun to watch. I'm picking Jinyoung Kim to win.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fight that, like you said, it's going to stay standing for 15 minutes and a 7-inch reach advantage for Kim. Like, that's no joke. And on top of that, the 40% striking defensive catch-up beating, like, that's bad. Absorbing over 3 more significant strikes than her opponents are landing. Like, that's very bad. But she has power, but Kim's so tough. Both these fighters are very, very tough. Kim's never been dropped. Priscila catch-up beating has been dropped, I think, once, right?
Yes, catch-up beating dropped once. Kim never been dropped. And then when you look at 8 combined losses, only 2 of them have finished inside the distance. And it's been Cachoeira, who's been submitted twice by Shevchenko and Jillian Robertson with 1 second left in that fight, or in that round, I should say. So both of these girls, very difficult to finish.
Yeah, definitely. We'll take a look at the odds. We see that Kim opened up -200 and she is now -170. Priscila catch a cheating, opened up +170. She is now +145. The fight goes to decision -165. The fight doesn't go to decision +125. I'm not betting Kim at this price. Probably going to be a fight that I just sit back and watch. Both fighters, again, are very, very tough. I think the fight probably goes to decision, but it could finish. No strong lean one way or another for me. Any thoughts on the line or the finish?
Kind of like the fight goes here, because both ladies have power, so I could see why that would hold the line down and you get a little bit better value on fight goes than you normally would. But that's priced about right for the divisional finish rate. And like I say, only 2 of these girls' 8 combined losses have come inside the distance, both of them by submission. Neither one of these girls are submitting anyone. So since neither one of them has ever been knocked out, I kind of like the fight goes here.
Yeah, I think that could be sneaky as well. So yeah, I'll go with Kim, and Kim probably by decision. But I'm always rooting for catch a beating. I mean, I actually do like her. I like breaking down her
I
fights.
like her too.
Yeah,
I really do like her too. She's had a really rough life. I read some kind of story about her life. She's been through a lot of shit. And you know what? These women that come forward, she's got a ton of heart, a ton of power, and I love the way she fights. She's in exciting fights. But god damn, man, that eye gouge, that was some really trifling ass shit there, man. That's rough. I hope we don't see that anymore out of her. But usually you'll get plus 2,000 for a point deduction in a fight. I'm telling you, I'm betting that this week.
yeah. Why not put
I might even throw like a half unit on it to win 10. Because I'm telling you, Priscila is a cheater. As sure as the day is long, man, she's a cheater. So that's going to be a spot I'm going to be looking at, man.
Yeah, let's see if she makes weight here as well. We'll see.
Yeah, that too.
And any advantage she can get, she's gonna take it. Whether it's your eye or the fence, she's gonna do something. So yeah, I actually don't hate that Gam Bags call. Shout out to Lou. Plus 2K. Man. Yeah, I'll take that. But we'll see what happens. That fight's very good. Looking forward to it. Don't know why it's on the main card, but we'll go with it. We have the co-main event, which, like you said, is Tsarukyan Álvarez, in my opinion, should be the co-main event. But this is a decent fight, I guess. Cirkunov, 34 years old, 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. Turman, 25 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. So Turman's gonna be 9 years younger, but it's gonna be Cirkunov, who was recently a light heavyweight, came back to 185 in his last fight against Jocko, and he looked really good on the scales, a lot better than I thought, and he looked decent in the fight as well. His cardio held up for the most part, did slow down late in that third round, but he was able to get 5 takedowns in that third round, which was really interesting. Cirkunov is going to be the much bigger fighter. He's going to have a 3-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage as well. Cirkunov, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He has a submission win against Patrick Cummings, a knockout loss against Johnny Walker, a submission win against Jimmy Crute, a knockout loss against Ryan Spann, and then a split decision loss against Krzysztof Jocko. I did bet Cirkunov in that Jocko fight. I personally did score it for Jocko, but you could definitely make a case for Cirkunov. It was a very close fight. I believe they landed the same amount of significant strikes, and on top of that, Cirkunov did land 5 takedowns. But I did personally have Jocko winning. Turman, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, a decision loss against Carl Roberson in a fight that I think for this matchup is very important to go back and watch. He actually got out-grappled a lot in that fight against a kickboxer in Carl Roberson. He got reversed, I think, 3 times in that fight. Just a very, very bad look when you're comparing it to this fight against Cirkunov. But he comes back and beats Marcus Perez by decision. He gets knocked out by Andrew Sanchez. Not a good look, and then gets knocked out by Bruno Silva, and then wins a split decision against Sam Alvey in a fight where he loses 2 points and still gets the win. So I see a lot of people out there saying Cirkunov's chinny, and, I will agree, but my goodness, look at who he's getting knocked out by. He's getting knocked out by, monster light heavyweights, and Johnny Walker knocked him out with a flying knee. Ryan Spann knocked him out. That guy hits kind of hard, right? Glover Teixeira knocked him out, and then Volkan Oezdemir. Like, these are legit guys in the division. I could argue that Turman is chinny. I mean, if you're getting knocked out by Andrew Sanchez in the first round, that's a huge red flag to me. And then also, Bruno Silva did knock him out with that grounded pound. So, I think both guys are
his head through the canvas.
It
was so hard to watch, man. That was ugly.
It was definitely bad. But yeah, both guys, I guess you could say, are chinny, but he's getting knocked out by Andrew Sanchez in the first round, whereas Cirkunov's getting knocked out by legit power punchers. So this is a fight where, like I said, you're going to have Cirkunov, who is a huge for the division. You always got to take a look at that weight cut. He looked good last time out. We'll see how he looks this time out, but he's going to be bigger. And this guy's wrestling is no joke, and this guy's grappling is absolutely no joke. I think Cirkunov's going to have the wrestling advantage in this fight. I think he could get on top of Turman. On paper, Turman has a 100% takedown defense, but he's only stuffed 4 of them. I think he stuffed like 1 against Sanchez. He stuffed maybe like 1 against Silva and then maybe like 2 against Perez. He hasn't stuffed a ton of takedowns, but I think if Cirkunov can get on top of Turman early, it could be some big trouble for Turman. I did not like what I saw from Turman in terms of the Carl Roberson fight, where he was kind of content to just lay on his back, throw up submissions. I don't think that works against Cirkunov. Cirkunov very good at getting into dominant positions, very good at finding submissions, and then very good at landing ground and pound as well. I guess my concern with Cirkunov, and this isn't a huge concern for me, but it would be the gas tank. We have seen him slow down. In the Jocko fight, he slowed down a little bit. I actually liked his gas tank better than I remembered. Again, he was able to get 5 takedowns in that third round. I think it's huge. So yes, he does slow down a little bit, but he was able to still get those takedowns. And then he was also able to submit Ion Cutelaba in the third round. So he can still fight in that third round. I don't think he's like round 1 or bust, which most of his fights do end in round 1, but I don't think he's completely round 1 or bust. So on the feet, I think it's very close. Turman's probably the more technical striker, but Cirkunov's going to be landing more strikes. Cirkunov's going to be having the better striking defense, which is actually really good at 59%. Turman's very hittable with a 43% striking defense. I like Cirkunov here. I like Cirkunov to get takedowns. I know Turman has that 100% takedown defense. I think that changes here. And Cirkunov is absolutely no joke on the mat. I mean, going out there, submitting guys like Jimmy Crew, that's not easy. Submitting guys like Patrick Cummings, submitting Ion Cutelaba. Like, this guy's ground game is legit. I know Turman's a good black belt, but I think Cirkunov is going to get on top and smash this guy probably early in that first round. But if it gets extended, I'm not completely concerned. Weezy, how are you seeing this fight?
Yeah, I have no idea what to do with this fight. You know, even like you look at the tail of the tape, you know, Cirkunov 3 inches taller and a 5-inch reach advantage, but he's 9 years older here. So I'm not even sure who has the advantage there. They both have 22 fights. Turman's got more minutes in terms of cage time, but it's Cirkunov with about 4.5 more years as a pro. And Cirkunov's got 6 more fights at the UFC level. They're both good finishers. 86% finish rate in Cirkunov's wins. A 65% finish rate in Turman's wins. And then we got Cirkunov's been finished in 6 of his 7 pro losses. And for Turman, it's 2 out of his 5 pro losses. So 8 out of 12 of these guys combined losses are finishing inside the distance. That's like a minus 200 fight doesn't go to decision if you just go based on that metric. Cirkunov lands more than he absorbs. Turman absorbs more than he lands. So the striking numbers appear to favor Cirkunov. Cirkunov definitely more chinny, though. Man, he's been knocked down 3 times in 11 fights, but only 165 significant strikes absorbed. So this guy's really only absorbing a little over 14 significant strikes per fight, but he's been knocked down 3 times. So that's not good. Where I'm really struggling here, Brady, is with this grappling. I don't know what to think here because both of these guys are very good on the ground. I think both of them are grapplers first. I think neither one of them has the kind of striking that we really need to worry about here. But I liked what I saw out of Wellington Turman in terms of the striking against Alvey. He looked good there. Other than all the damn eye pokes, which we might want to, you know, hey, this could be one where we see some fence grabs and eye pokes. You know, maybe this is the card where we just go for yan bag shots and hit these plus 2,000 long shot bets. But I'm really struggling with which one of these guys is the better grappler. Now, Cirkunov is a better wrestler as he's getting 16 of his 36 takedown attempts, while Turman has also attempted 36 takedowns, but only gotten 8 of them. So 44.44% takedown accuracy for Cirkunov, 22% for Turman. So Misha's the better wrestler. And then we look at defensive wrestling, and yeah, Turman's never been taken down. Cirkunov been taken down 3 times, less than 1 time per 15 minutes. It looks like Wellington's fights are taking place in control time positions about 57% of the time. And for Cirkunov, it's about 40, a little less than 40% of the time. The strength of schedule favors Cirkunov here. Better wins, better overall competition, and better losses. So, yeah, Cirkunov's going to be bigger. He's going to have the better strength of schedule. He's had more fights at the UFC level. He's the more potent finisher, but he's also a little bit more chinny on the aggregate than Turman. The grappling should be close, but I could see Cirkunov maybe winning more minutes there. people don't try to take down Wellington Turman for a very good reason, and that's because he's very good on the ground. So it's just one that I've really been struggling with. I got to look more into it. Oh God, I'm not even gonna make a pick here on this one yet. I really need to do more work. I don't have a lot of faith in either of these guys at this point.
Maybe you could do like a balls deep breakdown for this co-main event at some point.
Yeah, perhaps, because I think it's worth it actually, because I think the first one I'm going to do is definitely Tsarukyan and Álvarez, but after that, I think this is worth it because, you've got a lot of areas where they're different than each other, and we have to kind of try to figure out who's better on the feet, who's better on the ground, who's the better minute winner, who's the better finisher. And if we look at that in depth, maybe we can get a better idea of who we think is going to win this fight, because I'm not there yet. I really don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, Blood Money says Carl Roberson swept Turman like 3 times, and that, my friends, is terrible. Yeah,
I don't remember that. Damn, that's something else.
No, he looked awful in the Roberson fight. He was getting out grappled, but yeah, that's a concern because everybody submits Carl Roberson, right? Like you got to think that Turman should have submitted him.
Yeah.
Roberson
does have some submissions, though. Roberson's got a decent ground game, actually. Yeah. It's Mike Rodriguez, who I always got mixed up with Roberson. Roberson could actually swim on the ground a little bit. Mike Rodriguez was horrible, slow Mike. So sometimes when I see Roberson, I get him mixed up with the other guy. Roberson's better than that guy on the ground, but yeah, dude, It's still not good. Turman's supposed to be this world champion, so he shouldn't be getting swept by Roberson
3 times. But yeah, it's a good fight. I don't hate it, but I don't think it's really co-main event worthy. Cirkunov opened up -190. He's now -125. Turman opened up +165. He is now +105. We see the fight goes to decision +155, and the fight doesn't go to decision -195. Looks like they're all over it. I don't know how I'm going to bet this yet. I think I really don't know. I might be taking a look at that Cirkunov money line. It looks like money's coming in on it right now, though. Cirkunov money line, Cirkunov inside the distance. Fight doesn't go to decision could be interesting, but it's -195 there. Any thoughts on that fight doesn't go?
Yeah, I think that's priced just about right. Because Turman's not he's never finished any of his 2 wins in the UFC, but Cirkunov has finished all 6 of his wins. But then again, Turman, not really a finisher, but Cirkunov's been finished in 4 out of his 5 UFC losses and 6 out of his 7 pro losses. So it's something I'm going to stay away from because I don't think I can play it with a lot of confidence either way.
Yeah, for sure. But we'll move on to the main event. And we have Islam Makachev going against Bobby Green. Makhachev, 30 years old, 5'10", with a 70-inch reach. Bobby Green, 35 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach. Bobby Green's going to be 5 years older and have a 1-inch reach advantage. Makhachev, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. And he had a decision win against Armin Cerukian, decision win against Davi Hamosh, a submission win against Drew Dober, submission win against Thiago Moises, a submission win against Dan Hooker. Bobby Green is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a decision win against Alan Patrick, decision loss to Thiago Moises, decision loss to Rafael Fiziev, a knockout win against a real estate agent, and a decision win against Nasrat Hakparast. This is a fight where a lot of people are pulling for Bobby Green, but I just really don't see it. It's really hard to make a case for him, and we'll kind of talk about why, but I like Makhachev here, but you can't bet the -1,000. So I see why people are taking shots on Green. I understand some small shots, but I've seen people post $1,000 tickets on Bobby Green, which is interesting because I don't know, Bobby Green, he's not a finisher at all. He has 1 finish in the last 10 years, and that was against a real estate agent, against Ali Quinta. He's not a submission threat. He's not a knockout threat. He doesn't hit hard. He's a volume guy. But, I think Makhachev is going to be able to take him down whenever he wants. And Makhachev, is going to be easily the best wrestler that Bobby Green's fought, easily the best grappler that Bobby Green's fought. It's not even close. And I feel like Makhachev, his control is very good. He's a guy that is, position over submission. He's not going to rush things. I think he can take Bobby Green down here, win minutes. And, Makhachev is somebody you don't have to worry about his gas tank. You can go a full 5 rounds, no problem. I just don't see many opportunities for Bobby Green. If Makhachev, if they wrote in the contract, listen, Makhachev, you're not allowed to wrestle in this fight. I think Bobby Green would then have a chance, but this is going to be an MMA fight, and I think Makhachev's gonna be able to take him down. So yeah, on the feet, you gotta favor Bobby Green, but I'm sure you'll get into these numbers for Makhachev, Weezy. these numbers for Makhachev in terms of his striking are things you all have never seen. And it's not like it's a small sample size for Makhachev. This is a guy that has 11 UFC fights. And one thing that really, really stuck out to me when I was digging into this fight was you take a look at Makhachev. He has 11 UFC fights. The most amount of significant strikes that somebody has landed against Islam Makachev was 13. 13 significant strikes. Nick Lentz landed 13 significant strikes in a 3-round fight that went all 15 minutes. Armin Cerukian landed 13 significant strikes in a 3-round fight that went all 15 minutes. And then Thiago Moises landed 13 significant strikes in a fight that went into the 4th round. So nobody has landed more than 13 significant strikes against Makhachev. He's dominant. I'm not going to be betting minus 700 on Makhachev, but I'm not betting Bobby Green here. What do you think about this one, Weezy?
I'm a huge Bobby Green fan and much respect for him taking this fight on, and he's just 1 week removed from the win over Haqparast here. So Bobby Green's been on a heater. Really had a great fight against Vasayev, won that 3rd round, looked amazing against Haqparast and absolutely destroyed that real estate agent. But it was, like I say, I've said it before, I'll say it again, Long Island's #1 real estate agent, not just any real estate agent. So the common opponent here is Thiago Moises, and Makhachev absolutely destroyed Moises. And Bobby Green won that fight against Moises, but the judges gave it to Moises. So let's start here, because if this fight were to stay standing, I would bet Bobby Green probably up to like minus 200. If this was a kickboxing match, I'd lay minus 200 on Bobby Green here. I think he's way better on the feet than Makhachev, especially if Makhachev wasn't allowed to shoot a takedown. But once you bring in the grappling, it changes everything. But Makhachev is absorbing less than 1 significant strike per minute over an 11-fight sample size. Those are video game numbers. That's crazy. Bobby Green, over a 17-fight sample size, Brady, is landing more than 2.25 significant strikes more per minute than he absorbs. 2.25 over a 17-fight sample size. So let's not sleep on Bobby Green's striking, and let's not pretend that it's even on the same wavelength as Makhachev's. It's not. And let's not pretend that Bobby Green's wrestling is even on the same plane or planet as Islam Makachev's. Look at this guy. 36 takedown attempts. He's gotten 24 of them. 66% takedown accuracy. 3.38 takedowns per 15 minutes. 1.27 submission attempts per 15 minutes. And he's controlled his opponent for more than half of the cage time, which is 106 minutes. So if we do a little bit of math here, 52% control time of 106.57 minutes would be probably about 55 minutes of control time on 24 takedowns. That's averaging 2.5 minutes of control time per takedown. That basically means if he takes you down, there's more than a 50% chance that you're going to either be submitted that round or just have to wait until the horn before you can stand up again. So his ability to be able to win minutes on the ground, and combined with that ability to be able to not absorb strikes and stay safe and really give his opponent no chance to win the fight, is exactly how Islam is winning his fights. And it's just a master class. Now, Bobby Green's going to be a unique animal because he strikes differently. He's not the kind of guy who's going to keep his hands up. His hands are right down, and it's always harder to take down guys when their hands are down around their waist. They can dig underhooks. They can sprawl. There's a lot of ways that they can make it a little more difficult. And Bobby Green moves very well, so potentially it might be a little more difficult for Makhachev to take down Bobby Green than it has some other opponents. But the guy's commitment to his wrestling and his ability to be able to chain together takedown attempts, if the first, second, and third aren't successful, it usually means he will get it on the 4th or 5th try. And then, like I said, once he does get you down there, you're not getting back up. If Bobby Green wins this fight, I'm going to be going nuts. And I probably won't have even won a penny on it because I don't have the sack to bet him. But wouldn't it be something if this guy came in here and ended this guy's winning streak on short notice? A guy that, has been overlooked a lot in his UFC career. He's 9-7-1 in the UFC, and a lot of people trash this dude. I saw when he took this fight, there were people on Twitter talking shit about Bobby Green. Can you imagine being a Bobby Green hater?
Well, I only saw one. I only saw one talking crap.
Yeah, I saw a couple people talking crap, like, just flat out just talking crap. Wow. And I was like, imagine being a Bobby Green hater. That's fucked up, man. You'd have to be a real sick fuck in order to be, talking shit about a guy who takes an Islam Makachev fight on 6 days' notice, 7 days removed from a win. I mean, I got a ton of respect for this guy. I'm rooting for Bobby Green here. But as a capper who has to break this down, on who I think's going to win, man, Islam Makachev is just different, dude. I don't think anybody's beating this guy.
Yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat just saying Bobby Green KO, and I don't know. I mean, that's probably his path to victory. It's just the lack of power from Bobby. I just don't like. Like, again, you take a look at Bobby Green. He knocked out Ally Quinta November of 2021, and then prior to that, his last knockout win, I literally don't know.
Yeah, I could go back and look. I mean, but
I don't know.
He's only had 3 finishes in the UFC, and I think 2 of them were the first 2 fights that he had in the UFC. Then it was nothing but decision wins up until the real estate agent.
2013 against James Krause.
Okay, yeah, that's a long time ago, man. How old were you in 2013? Were you in high school still?
Yeah, I was in high school.
Yeah, it's a long time ago, man.
That was a long time ago. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But Makhachev's a big favorite. He opened up at -450, and he is currently -700. Bobby Green opened up +350, and he is currently +450. I'm not sure how I'm going to play this fight. I'm not going to parlay Islam Makhachev. I think he's a solid parlay piece. But I'm not doing any parlays. The fight, this is interesting. The fight goes to decision is +250. The fight doesn't go to decision is -350. You think Bobby could survive with Makhachev on top of him?
So, we've got a big sample size of fights, and he's been controlled less than 10% of his UFC career, but he's been taken down 19 times. So let's do that math, right? That would be 23.3 minutes. No, it would actually be 23 minutes of control time against a 19 takedown. So that's a little over 1 minute of control time yielded per successful takedown against Bobby Green. That number goes up against a guy like Makhachev, So, I mean, I think, Makhachev could win a ton of minutes, but we have never seen Bobby Green be submitted in the UFC. He does have one, it looks like 2 career losses by submission, but they were pre-UFC, so there was probably like 2010 the last time that this guy got submitted. So I don't know about the time props. 5 rounds surviving on the ground with Islam Makachev
on short notice.
Tall order on short notice. Oh God, yeah, it probably does finish inside the distance because Green can catch him too. I mean, Makachev. The one strike that landed clean against him in the UFC separated him from his consciousness, and it was from a guy named Adriano Martinez. So, yeah, it could happen. I think the fight doesn't go is probably a pretty safe bet here.
Yep, we'll see what happens. I have Makhachev, no strong take for me, but there's a lot of people on Bobby Green, and we'll see what happens. I'll be rooting for him. I like Bobby Green, not the biggest Islam fan, but it's just it's a very, very tough matchup. And we do see why the odds are why they are. But yeah, I think that's about it. We talked about pretty much everything. We talked about Priscila cheating. We talked about Hannah Goldie, Jinyu Fry. We talked about the Tsarukyan and Álvarez fight. We talked about this main event. This card, it's not the worst card in the world. Another card where the name value is probably not there, but there's some sneaky good fights on this card.
There are. Bobby Green, Makhachev is fantastic. Tsarukyan Álvarez is fantastic. Petrosyan Rodriguez is fantastic. Rong Zhu against Bahamondes is a great fight. And then Fares Siam against Terence McKinney. And we haven't even mentioned Hannah Goldie versus Jinyu Fry. So, yeah, it's It's a shame we didn't get to see the dumpster fire of Johnny Parsons versus Michael Gilmore, but I'll settle for a Ramiz Brahimaj first round submission in that one.
Yeah, for sure. Dono, appreciate you, Mystic Lista, $5. Over under for green head shakes. I will take the under because I do think this fight's going to primarily play out on the ground. Weezy, over under or green head shakes?
Under, because I think he's going to be on the ground a lot, and it'll be hard for him to shake his head while Islam's pounding it through the canvas.
Definitely. So yeah, appreciate you, Mystic Lista. So Uncle Weezy, let me know where we can find you. What you have going on throughout the week? Are you going live tonight or tomorrow?
Yeah, I got to see I still have to walk the dog here, and then it'll be like 9 o'clock. And I was planning on maybe going live at 10 for a Balls Deep breakdown, but I don't think I'm going to have time to watch enough tape in order to do that. So let's look for a Balls Deep breakdown tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Central Time on my channel, Uncle Weezy, for the Tsarukyan Álvarez fight. And then I'll be doing my full card breakdown like I always do Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time, just the tip with Uncle Weezy. Break down all 12 of these fights from a statistical perspective. Give you Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And I'll be right back here on Pub Sports Radio again on Wednesday for the DFS show with you, Monk, and Luke. Can't wait to do it. God bless each and every one of you guys that have been hanging out for the last 2 hours on Pub Sports Radio on a Sunday night, spending it with Brady and I. In order for you to do that for us, we've got to make sure that we give you the kind of advice that will allow you to stack cash tickets like flapjacks this Saturday for UFC Vegas 49. So let's get it, Brady.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Had a great crowd in here tonight. If you guys can please leave a like on this video, subscribe to Pub Sports Radio. You can check me out on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I've been posting my picks there with the method on fight day. People seem to like that. And then also my full card breakdown prediction video should be out tomorrow. I have pretty much everything done. Just need to hit record there. So again, thank you guys for hanging out. Appreciate all the donuts. We had a ton tonight. Again, leave a like on the way out and good luck. And let's make some money at UFC Vegas 49. And then the week after that, I believe it's Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, and I cannot wait for that card and fight. So that's about it, guys. Good luck.